the one apology from Councillor Deanna Armstrong, who sadly lost her father-in-law, Ivan Armstrong, over the weekend. That's the only apology from our grouping.
Thanks for that, Victor. And Errol Thompson, have we any apologies from the DUP? Errol, please.
Councillor Elliott here. Councillor Thompson, just an apology. He will be late. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Good job. And Mary Gardy, any apologies from SDLP?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. One apology, Councillor Paul Blake. Thank you.
And the smaller parties or independents, have we any apologies? Okay, moving on. Item 2, agus tá na Scurry St. Jogam Hanahan. I have already signed the minutes of the previous meeting on the 8th of September 2020. Item 3, declarations of interest. Have we any declarations of interest, please?
I don't know really if I need to, but 10.4, the broadband working group. It's Victor here.
Yes. Right, Victor, yeah, thank you. Bert?
Chair, yes. Northern Ireland Waters, I think it's 12.4 in the correspondence of a family member. 8.1 grants panel, I think that's on page 660. And matters, so funding for Gorton Lanes, it's in items 16. And again, somewhere in 10.6 in paper M. Thank you.
Thank you, Bert. Any further declarations?
Chair.
Councillor Deehan, is it?
Yes.
Go ahead, Josephine, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes. 8.1, the grant aid recommendations for Recover as a member of the Strathroy Community Association and as a member of the Planning Committee. 8.2, 10.1, 10.2 and 12.4. There was another one, Chair. 8.3, DFC, access to food. A family member is a member of the local St. Vincent de Paul. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, good Margaret. Collier Deehan. Anyone else?
Yes, Chair. Councillor McAleer here.
Collier McAleer, Lunneray, go ahead.
8.1 on the Grant Aid Appeals Committee, 10.4 Broadband Working Group, 10.6 Gorton Glen Steering Group, 10.7 Fermanagh Lakeland Tourism Board and the Gorton Glen Steering Group, 10.8 Fermanagh Lakeland Tourism Board and Southwest College Employee, 10.9 Community Planning Strategic Partnership Board, 10.12, there's two items in there, 2.1.2 and 2.1.3, the Gorton Glen Steering Group, 2.7, the Grant Aid Appeals, 12.8 as a member of Save Our Sparrows, and 12.12 Project Stratum. I'm in the Broadband Working Group. Now, none of these are pecuniary interests, so I'm going to remain in chamber for all of them, but just to declare an interest. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that, Emmett. Any further declarations?
Yes. Councillor Thornton here.
Sorry, go ahead, Howard. Thank you.
8.1 Grant Aid recommendations. Remember the appeals panel. Also 10.12. That's point 2.7, referring to the Grant Aid appeals investigation. And lastly, 11.4 Southwest Age Partnership as I'm a liaison officer with it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Howard.
Chair, it's Alex Baird.
Alex Baird, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, for some reason the hand system won't work for me. 8.4 Marble Arch Caves Global Geopark. 8.5 Event Strategy Working Group. 9.1 again the Caves. 10.7 and 10.8 FLT. They're all non-pecuniary, so I won't withdraw. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Mark Buchanan. Councillor Mark Buchanan, please.
8.1 on the Grant Aid Appeals panel, please, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Stephen Donnelly.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just 10.4 and 8.5 for the broadband working group and event strategy working group, respectively. But I don't have any pecuniary interest, so I'll be staying in.
Councillor Corey, you're jumping from the top of the list back down again. Go ahead now, Siobhan.
Yeah, 8.1, I'm a member of the Deafnish Partnership Forum, 9.2 and 10.12 as a member of the LAG, and 10.7 and 10.8 as a member of Fermanagh Lakeland Tourism. Again, I have no pecuniary interest and won't be leaving, but I will absent myself from a vote on 8.1 if it goes that. Okay.
Collier Anne-Marie Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair. 9.2 is a member of the LAG and 10.4 is a member of the Broadband Working Group.
Collier O'Coffey.
It's just in relation to 8.3. I'm a member of the Fermanagh CAF, but that's the second point of that, so I'm certainly going to sit it out for the first part. And then in relation to 10.4 and 12.12 is the broadband steering committee. Thank you.
Eamon. All right, Eamon. Eamon, go ahead.
Alan Rinnie, Chairman.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
You're on the list. Sorry, Eamon. Just to explain to Councillor Rainey, he's on the list. 2 or 3 to go, Alan. If you just hold fire. Eamon, start again, please.
Yeah, 8.1 granted panel, Tommy.
Oh, yeah, Graham. Bert Wilson, your hand's still up. Emmett, your hand's still up. Now it's your turn now, Alan. Alan Rainey, Councillor Rainey.
Okay, 10 and 10.2. This is item 10. 10.2 planning. 10.4 broadband. 10.5 agri liaison committee. 10.9 community planning, and item 12.1 and 12.2.
Thanks for that, Alan.
Correspondence.
Thank you, Alan. Councillor Smith, Chris.
Thanks very much, Chair. 8.2, 10.1 and 10.2 all as a member of the Planning Committee.
Thank you. And Councillor Robert Irvine. Robert.
Thanks very much, Chair. Tommy. 10.1, 10.2, Chair of Planning Committee, no pecuniary interest, and 10.3, Chair of the Mid-South West Region, no pecuniary interest, so I'll stay, but won't say anything. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor McPhillips, Garvin, all right.
Thank you, Chair. 8.5, member of the Event Strategy Working Group, 10.7 and 10.8 as a member of FLT. Thank you.
Thank you, Garvin. Collier Garrity, Mary, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. 8.1 grant aid member, 8.2, 10.1, 10.2 is planning, 10.3 Mid-South West member, and 9.2 member of the LAG. Again, no pecuniary interest, but just to declare my interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. John Coyle, Collier John Coyle, go ahead, please.
Thanks, Chair. 8.1 Grant Appeals Panel, 10.1, 10.2 Planning Committee, and 10.12 Grant Appeals Panel, 2.7. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And Collier Glenn Campbell, Lanray, John, Glenn.
Garmioga to Carly, 8.2, 10.1 and 10.2, member of the Planning Committee, no pecuniary interest.
Garmioga Glenn and Collier Gannon, Adam Gannon.
Thank you, Chair. 8.4, 9.1 Marble Arch Caves, and 9.2 LAG. Thank you.
Adam. Collier Feely, Anthony Feely.
Thanks, Keir. 9.1 Committee, 9.2 LAG, 10.1 and 10.2 Planning Committee. Okay, Tommy?
Gormargaret, Anthony, thank you. Councillor Donnelly, Collier Donnelly. John.
10.2, I think it is planning and no pecuniary interest. And Cork and Glen, I'm on the
committee of the Gork and Lane, so whatever that was, might needed to turn into. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Collier Green, Seamus Green. None all right?
Thank you, Chair. It isn't so much a declaration of interest, it's just maybe one of the officers or something could comment on this. 10 minutes there we put in declarations of interest, the vast majority of which I don't believe should be declared. Is there any way that this could actually be that members could email this in prior to the meeting instead of wasting 10-15 minutes to be in every meeting with this?
Your thoughts are noted. Thanks for that, Seamus. Yes, I was due to make a comment when it was over. Councillor McCloughery is next up.
Thank you, Chair. NFC 8.1, I'm a member of NFC Cash. And then I might as well throw in 9.2 lag and 10.4 broadband working group as everybody else is throwing them in.
Thanks for that, John. Some hands are still remaining up. Emmett, Michael Lear, Chris Smith, Glenn Campbell, Anthony Feely already spoken on the issue. Okay, take them down, please. Just to comment on that, a lot of, as Seamus said, a lot of what was declared there with no pecuniary interest possibly needs to be clarified. So maybe we'll all look into it after this. There was code of conduct training from NILGA in the last week or so, and we do run our own. So maybe we need to brush up on it yet again to speed up the meeting. We have again over a 500 odd page agenda to try and get through. So as Seamus says, any time we can see it is worth the effort. So again, members, just outline the procedure tonight. I again am moving matters arising to item 13 just before any other business. And I am going straight in then to Kim's reports, but just for another procedure, I will be making a brief change to the agenda. After 10.12, I am bringing in item 16, confidential, as it is an urgent matter. We will be going into confidential after 10.12. Gormy, I'll get a Carly or a card yet to Brown Arm. So over to you, Kim. Now, sorry.
Okay.
Just interference.
Okay, Chair, thank you. So this first report has council powers conferred for this item, and it relates to grant aid recommendations for the Recover Fund programme, for Call 2 and for project development grants. The Recover Fund programme was opened for a second call. The closing date was Monday the 21st of September. A total of 82 applications were received, and the list of grants is outlined in Appendix 1, and alongside that we have Community Services Project Development grants, and we received 2 applications for that grant stream, and again the detail of those is outlined in the appendix. So the recommendation is that the Council approves the recommendations of the Grant Aid E-Panel held on the 7th of October 2020 in respect of the Recover Fund, Call 2 and Community Services Project Development grants.
All right, thanks for that, Kim. Have we a proposer? Collier Kelly, Catherine Kelly, your hands up.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I would like to propose, and I would like to give a shout out for Creggan Community Association for getting its PPE sorted here, for Air Oaks and for the Mid-Ulster Drama and Arts from Carrickmore. We got the applications in, and they're mentioned in the report, so I just want to say thanks for that.
Thank you, Catherine. And next one on my list is Collier Donnelly, Anne-Marie.
Yes, thank him for the report. So happy to second the recommendation. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Anne-Marie. All agreed?
Yeah.
Collier Curry, your hands up. Do you wish to make a comment?
It's a separate question, really. It is around funding, but I know that we went into the Recover funding as a response to the COVID-19 pandemic. But there was previous funding, and I know we had agreed that in an earlier council meeting to do it this way. But I'm just wondering, particularly around funding around Irish language bursaries, members will be aware that there are usually bursaries given out during the summer for families and for young people and adults as well to go to the Gaeltacht area. It was largely closed down. Some activities did take place online, and there was an attempt by the council to do some online, which was unsuccessful. But I'm just wondering, in terms of that funding, Hurley, just could we possibly look at putting some of that money that's intended to help families, in particular around the Irish language, towards Níoscáileann and Bunscáileann in the district, and maybe to provide resources that families could be using at home. So if I could, Chair, I'd like to propose that that we could do that. Gormagat.
Gormagat, Siobhan, have we a seconder for that?
I second that, Tommy.
Collier Green, thanks for that, Chairman. Sorry, just bear with me. Sorry for the silence, members. I was just having a conversation with John. John will look into that, Siobhan, and he'll get back to you. Okay. Fulcher Rove. Just the phone number, mobile phone number ending in 12. Just if you could identify yourself, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Councillor Clark.
Yeah, I'm on the road, so
You're on the road again.
On the road again, right? Okay.
Right, thanks,
right,
Sean. Just as long as we know who you are.
Right, I'll mute.
Right, good man. Thanks for that. 8.2. Kim again.
Okay, thank you, Chair. And again, this report has council powers, and it's relating to 3 consultations which we've received from 2 neighbouring councils for planning applications which share a boundary with Fermanagh and Omagh District Council. All 3 relate to applications under Section 54 of the Planning Act and their request to vary conditions in respect of the operational lifetime of a wind farm. The report outlines the 3 applications, the first from Derry City and Strabane Council and the consultation 2 and 3 from Mid-Ulster District Council. We have attached the suggested response to the applications and in respect of consultation number 2, we're suggesting that we do not comment really on that application because there's also an application relating to the same wind farm which has been received by Fermanagh and Omagh District Council. So the recommendation is that the draft responses attached are approved for submission.
Okay, have we a proposer? Adam Gannon, yes. Collier Gannon.
I'll propose, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Have we a seconder?
Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. If I could just at this juncture, Collier McAleer, you put something into the chat there in a declaration of interest. We would invite you to say it for the audio, please, if you could come back in there.
Perfect, Chair. No, it's in relation to the previous item, just as a member of Greencastle St Patrick's GFC, and page 4 of Appendix 1, just to make that declaration. Sorry, Chair, just in relation to this particular item, I think it's incumbent just on any response that the council makes in light of the NI Audit Office report that was released late last night, early this morning, dealing with the generation of electricity from renewable sources, including wind turbines, that any response from council is mindful of what is included in that report. So I'm just wary that because I suppose what's been provided has been prepared in advance of that, if there would be anything maybe additional, maybe Kim could make reference to in relation to our council response to the applications. Thank you, Chair.
Right, thanks for that, Emmett. Kim, have you responded to it?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I haven't read the report in detail, but as far as I understand, it relates to incentives. I'm not sure that there are any related items specifically around the planning considerations in terms of land use planning. But certainly we can look at that and see.
Thanks for that, Kim.
Just-
Sorry, Emmett.
Chair.
Sorry, Emmett. You've already made your point clear. Thank you.
Sorry, it's your response to that, Chair.
Sorry, Councillor. In line
It
with
relates to
that.
planning.
Sorry, Councillor. No, you actually came in and jumped in then with your point. Your point was clearly made. Kim has responded. I'm moving on. If you wish to make any further points on that particular issue, perhaps an email or something. I'm not holding up the meeting just for full-blown conversations, if you don't mind. Could I have a seconder for the last paper there, please?
Councillor Fitzgerald.
Sorry, Councillor Fitzgerald, you did. I apologise, Councillor Fitzgerald. 8.3 on the agenda. Kim again. Sorry, it's John.
He's muted, Tommy.
We still can't hear.
Yeah.
No, Chair, John's on mute.
Yeah, we're just getting technical assistance here. Bear with us. Right, members, just we can move now to 10.1 while we're having the technical issue resolved with John, and it's back to Kim, please.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So 10.1 is a report again related to planning, a report on proposal of application notices. So under section 27 of the Planning Act, before submitting a planning application for a major development, an applicant must submit what's known as a proposal of application notice to the council that an application for development is to be submitted, and a period of 12 weeks must elapse between giving the notice and then submitting the application. We currently have 3 PANs, as they're known. So the first one is proposed residential development at Derry Lynn. The second one is immediately west of 16 Eskra Road, Eskra, and it's removal of minerals from lands application. And the third PAN relates to demolition of some properties at James Street, Oma, erection of a replacement discount supermarket, car parking, landscaping, and associated site works. So the PAN gives a general description of the development, and it must be published in a local paper. And again, it's the responsibility of the applicant to deal with the consultation and to receive the comments. The council will not receive any representations or objections to a proposal at this stage, since it hasn't received a planning application. And it's recommended that the council notes the receipt of the proposal of application notices as outlined.
Councillor Thornton.
Proposed noting, Chair.
Thanks, Howard. Councillor Gannon, Corley Gannon.
Second, Chair.
Good job.
Yes.
And now Kim will follow with 10.2. Again, waiting on technical solution.
Okay, Chair. So 10.2 is the quarterly report on the planning performance statistical reports. This covers April to June of the 2021 year. And you will note from it that, well, the figures are first of all provisional, but the impact of COVID is reflected in this report. And for the first time since planning powers transferred to council, we've failed to meet any of the performance targets. And in terms of section 2, you can see the figures in terms of applications received and processed. We did receive the highest number of renewable energy applications as well in that quarter. So the recommendation is that the council notes the report.
Thank you, Kim. Collier Anne-Marie Donnelly.
Proposed note recommendations, Chair.
Thanks for that, Anne-Marie.
Second.
And that's Bert, I believe, coming in there. I have the hands in front of me, Bert, if you could just wait till I call out the names. Okay, thanks for that. Anne-Marie proposed, seconded by Bert Wilson. Councillor Michael Lee, your hand's still up. Was that on another issue?
It was actually on the previous issues. Chair,
It's already gone, Councillor.
yes,
It's
but there's
already
no
been.
detail in terms of what minerals are proposed to be extracted from the lands in Eskra, and I know it's supposed to be a fairly generic and a fairly not a detailed application, but surely we should be given a wee bit more information than that, or is that something that is to follow to the planning committee?
Well, again, Councillor, as I said, I'm not just going to open open up to a full-blown conversation. If you require that information, you can seek it at another time. We have already proposed and seconded that item on the agenda, and we've gone past it. So, really, further information.
Hand up from prior.
Sorry, your name came up in order, Councillor. I've come to you in the order in which it appears in front of me. That's all I can say.
Sure, we have to be able to discuss some of these items. I appreciate it's a heavy agenda, but there has to be a bit of openness and transparency here.
Well, as far as I can understand, the gist of what you're suggesting is you're seeking further information. The chances of that information being available to us at the meeting tonight is fairly small, I would suggest. Maybe further inquiry to Kim maybe tomorrow by email could get you the information you require. Is that okay, Councillor?
I'll take that on board, Chair. Yeah.
Sorry, I do apologise, but I'm trying to get, once it's proposed in a second, I must move on. Councillor Thornton?
Yes, Chair, very quickly. No, with regard to planning performance, I fully understand with COVID-19, but I'm sure like most councillors, we're getting a lot of inquiries about the existing backlog. And I wonder, is there any plans from the planning department to try and speed up our processes over this period so that we can get back on track as to the good results we were having before COVID?
Thanks for your question.
Well, thank you, Chair. Yes, the planning team are working diligently to try to work their way through the backlog, and they have advised that they are making progress. I suppose the delay during COVID was that applications do need to be scanned and added onto the system before they can be processed. And that wasn't able to be done, but the team are now able to do that and are making steady progress. So I would hope that we will see the benefits of that shortly.
Howard, are you happy enough to second?
Yes, I'm quite happy, Chair. Thank you, and thank you, Kim, for that response.
Thank you. And now over to John just for an audio check first, members.
Hello, Chair. Can you hear? Yes.
Yeah, that's sounding good now, John. Perhaps, Kim, if you would proceed with your 10.3, are you happy enough? Or do you wish? Right. We'll get back on track. We'll go back to 8.3, members. Apologies for jumping about, but obviously the technical issue arose. 8.3, John, please.
Thank you, Chair, and apology, members, again for technical problems and new laptop giving a bit of bother. Chair, council powers have been conferred on this report also. It's Department of Communities have invited councils to submit proposals for two funds, the COVID-19 Food Partnership Fund and the COVID-19 Financial Inclusion Partnership. The Food Partnership Fund takes account of the fact that the community sector played such a vital role in the distribution of food during the first phase of COVID, and they're looking for funding proposals to address any deficiencies that may have occurred in that first phase. The Financial Inclusion Partnership Fund is facilitating and bringing together all the local expertise in a joined up way to provide support to communities as they emerge from the crisis. And the proposals that are included in Appendix 1 and Appendix 2 have been drawn up in consultation with food banks, with St Vincent de Paul's, and with the various advice services in the district. So, Chair, it's recommended that the Council approves the submission of the two proposals attached in Appendix 1 and Appendix 2 to the Department for Communities for consideration. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, John. Councillor Baird?
No, thank you, Chair. I had my hand up from the previous one, and I know your ruling in relation to it being closed, but my question was for Kim. Are all the other 10 councillors in similar position to us in relation to the backlog and planning, etc.?
Right, Alex, as I've already expressed to another councillor.
I appreciate that, too.
I'm not going back.
I would say IT is going to have to look at this thing about when the hand's up and when the hand isn't up, because
I think I thought my hand was up from the colour on the screen, but it wasn't.
Right, your hand may have been up, Alec, but it would have been in the queue in front of me. You understand? And once I got the proposal and the seconder, then that was
item.
Apologies then, Alex, as you can see, we were having a bit of activity about here at the minute, so I'm trying to run it as smooth as I can.
I think IT, you're going to have to take a look at this system of hands up, hands down. Right. Sometimes digitally it comes and says hands up or hand down, but most times I can't tell the difference whether the hands up or down. I'll have to have a talk with IT about it. I'll be proactive myself on it.
I believe there's a colour change on the screen, Alec. Maybe that's the issue. Okay, Alec, you're not happy enough to propose that when you are there?
No, why not?
Why not? Thank you, Alex. Proposed by Councillor Baird. Councillor O'Coffey.
Thank you, Chair. I have to say I'm not that happy with some of the aspects of this, so I'm just requesting to reconsider it slightly. Obviously, the Food Partnership Fund. This is what I'm speaking on. The first appendix. It's disappointing, in effect. First of all, we'll all recognise that it's effectively left to the community sector to prevent food hunger in our community. However, it is useful. Obviously, we've got 47,000 to increase capacity, networking of groups, and also capital support for community organisations. These are positive things. I want to welcome this in the document. My issue is on page 2, and I'm seeking potentially to request that this be changed. Really, why are we going to employ a consultant, and what is their role? It is reasonable perhaps to employ a consultant if it's a specialist to design an IT system or to get agreement between food distributors. But why would we need, as is being intimated in the document, why would we need to employ a consultant externally or someone externally to determine a baseline when we know what the problem is with food shortage? Why not use our in-house statistician we've got an excellent statistician in our own council? Why can't we use them to do that task? Why can't we use our internal? So I just want to say that money's used where it's needed. We know the poverty's there, but this money needs to get out onto the ground. Why not use our capacity and our partnership built up to the community planning process to ensure distribution?
Your question's clear. Maybe we could try John with a quick answer at this stage.
Yeah, Chair, the consultant is actually being employed not in order to derive or to come to the issue, but it's actually to try and sort out the issue. What we found in stage 1 of COVID was that the information flow between the food banks, between the St Vincent de Paul organisations and between the public sector bodies wasn't as it should be. And therefore this is trying to develop a system where we all have information within GDPR guidelines, and in order to make sure that everyone is up to date with what is going on within food and to get an immediate answer to food when there is a food need there. It's felt that expertise is not actually available within the council itself. And the development of this management information system will not be a huge amount of money. It's one of the lesser elements of the food scheme. But it is to combine in order to speak to all of the food banks, to St Vincent de Paul and the other community and voluntary organisations and to the public sector bodies, so that we have a joint up approach to food.
Happy enough, Councillor. I'm not allowing you back in for a full debate, but okay with that response?
Chair, I have to say that I'm not one bit happy. I think we have the capacity in our council to do that work. I don't see why we're wasting money on it. So
right, sorry, Councillor. Obviously, the Director has indicated we haven't got that resource at the minute. Have we anyone? Sorry, Anne-Marie Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Donnelly.
Yeah, I just want to welcome the joined up approach for access to food and allocation of food and for debt management and so on. So happy to second.
Anne-Marie, thanks for that. 8.4, Nixon Hall Trail. John again, please.
Thank you, Chair. Again, we have council powers for this report, and the purpose of the report is simply to seek permission to progress the Nixon Hall Trail in partnership with Outdoor Recreation NI and the Killashare and Cleanish Community Development Associations. It is funded from DERA and also hopefully the remaining 15% from the Landfill Community Fund, so it is hoped that there won't be any burden on the rates here. So it's recommended that we note this, or the members note the submission of the business case for funding to the Department of Agriculture under Tackling Rural Poverty and Social Isolation Programme under the Forest Park Enhancement Community Trails Development Scheme, and agrees to officers progressing the Nixon Hall Trail in partnership with Outdoor Recreation NI and Killasha Community Development Association to include applying for 14,400 from the Landfill Community Fund, entering into a legal agreement with the landowners, and entering into a management agreement with community groups for the minor maintenance and management of the trail. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, John. Alex, your hand's still up. And Councillor McAleer, your hand's still up.
Wonderful, Chairman, and I hadn't even intended it being there.
I see it when it's up and when you want it to be. It's not. Councillor McAleer?
Sorry, Chair. Yeah, my hand was up from the previous issue. I'm not sure if Councillor Coffey had made a proposal, but I was going to second that proposal.
Sorry, again, the minute has been proposed and seconded. Councillor Coffey has indicated he wishes to be recorded as dissenting from the vote or from the proposal on the chat. Are you indicating likewise?
Absolutely, yeah, thank you,
right,
Chair.
That'll do for now. Thank you, Emmett. Collier Feely?
Thank you. No, I'd just be happy to propose this recommendation, Tommy. Anything that enhances walkways and walking, I'd be very think it's a great job and just happy to propose. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Anthony Gurmayagat. And Collier Swift?
Yeah, Gurmagat Cahirlock, I'm very happy to second this proposal. It's an excellent concept for the Nixon Trail driven by the community and fantastic to have it in Earn West. Gurmagat.
Well, Road, Bernice. Councillor McCaffrey, Collier McCaffrey.
Gurmagat, Cahill, no, I was coming in to second that as well, or propose that. But no, happy again to support great community activities such as this. And me and Councillor Swift and Councillor Free may go for a walk someday in the trail.
I hope you get weather. Collier O'Reilly.
Thanks,
Thomas
Chair.
O'Reilly.
Thanks, Chair. Can I just ask a little bit, while absolutely delighted to see another trail to allow people to get out into the countryside. We are accumulating quite a lot of these walks and so forth, and I'm just a little bit uneasy about the future maintenance costs, the accumulative effect of all of these different walks and paths and trails and so forth. And I just seek a little bit more information, Chair, on how we intend, particularly on this one, to see the longer term maintenance, particularly when you look at the dieback from ash and so forth that may impact on all of these trails on an ongoing basis. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks for that, Tom. John?
Yeah, Chair. Yeah, something we're very much aware of is the cost of the maintenance, and before we start work on a trail at all, it is something that we do in collaboration with our Parks and Open Spaces. The maintenance of this trail will actually be undertaken by the Geopark team, led by the Rangers. But it is something that we're aware of, and increasingly we're getting requests for trail development, and it is something that we plan to bring to a future meeting of a trails policy, which we're just starting to think about now at this stage, which will take account of maintenance and the whole life costs of trail development.
Thanks for that, John. Collier Feely, your hand's still up. I believe that's in her. Councillor Wilson, I'm mindful that we already have a proposer and seconder for this now, so if you could make it brief. Bert's gone. Councillor Irvine?
Thanks very much, Chair. It's the same point that Councillor Riley Thomas has brought up, and I brought it up before as well.
Right. Are you happy enough with John's response that we will get a detailed paper at a later date?
Yeah, I want to make sure the whole life cycle costs are completely taken into account. Thank you.
Thanks for that. And Collier O'Coffey, Arish?
Gurmagat again. I just would like to propose that, in addition to considering that issue, that we also bring forward proposals for marketing walks in our towns, such as in Enniskillen. We've got great development of walks, but we need now to encourage people through a marketing program, especially in this COVID period. So I'd like to propose to bring forward a short-term program of marketing on that. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor, as I've indicated earlier, we've proposed and seconded that item, and it was just general points that were being made there, the relevant question about maintenance. Could you hold that proposal for a later date, Collier?
Well, as long as it happens, I don't mind. I'm sure you agree with me anyway.
It's just not in line with where I am at the minute, Donald, but your sentiments will be echoed, I'm sure, across the chamber. Thanks for that. Sean Donnelly, Councillor Donnelly, brief if you could, Sean, please.
Thank you, Chair. No, just when John's on there, it's something I've been lobbying for a while, and the trails and the forest. It's just Altmore Forest, what the vast majority of it is in the Ulster Council, but there's a portion of it and Tyrone and Fermanagh and Omo Council. So, and I asked something back. I just would like a bit of a feedback on it, at what is happening. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Sean. John has noted that. Donald, your hand is probably still up, and Councillor Donnelly, please move your hand. Thank you.
Thank you.
For information, Altmore Forest is on 10-12 later on.
Right. That again, you can make the point again later on. Okay. Sorry about that, Sean. 8.5.
Yes, Chair. Thank you. The council powers have also been conferred on to the committee for this item. The purpose is to provide members with an update following the event strategy working group meetings, which of 3 meetings that were actually held, and the minutes are included in appendixes. It's also to seek the adoption of the events and festivals strategy, and to seek further approval to deliver the remaining corporate events and festivals for 2021. For the year. You will know that due to COVID, a lot of events didn't take place, and indeed you will see from the report there that specific proposals have been put forward for our corporate events for Halloween and for Christmas. These were discussed at the event strategy working group and were remodelled in accordance with that to take account of rural issues, and we are drawing up proposals at the moment in order to account for 5 rural towns within our district in order to provide some sort of late animation in those towns over the Christmas period. The events and festival strategy is also presented at Appendix 1, and we look for members' approval for that. In relation to corporate sponsorship, many of the corporate sponsorship events were cancelled due to COVID, but we have come up with a new weighting in order to assess both sponsorship in and sponsorship out of the council, and we plan to the sponsorship out of the council was piloted in this year. Inward, that we plan to pilot it in the following year. So the recommendations, Chair, is to approve the events and festival strategy 20 to 2025 and amends the start date of the strategy delivery and action plan from 2021 to 2026. Notes the draft minutes and actions and recommendations of the event strategy working group of the 24th of June, the 2nd of September and the 7th of October 2020. Approves the delivery of the following corporate events and festivals: Halloween to a maximum budget of 10,000, Winter Lights Festival in Enniskillen and Anoma to a maximum budget of 170,500, and Winter Lights Festival in small towns, 5 small towns, to a maximum of 25,000. And finally, notes and approves the recommendations for sponsorship arising out of a trial pilot in the draft corporate and sponsorship outward for third-party organised events and festivals. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that. Councillor Gannon.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I'd like to thank the officers for their reports and all the documents, and thank the members of the working group too. They've done a good job, and in particular, keeping our small towns recognised in that as well, which is sometimes they're forgotten, but they haven't been forgotten this time, so it's good to see them included. And obviously, given the current impact of COVID, the changes to the Halloween and Christmas events are necessary, but I think including the local music and stuff, it's something to look forward to at the minute. And you know, some people are maybe a bit down with everything that's going on. This will give something for people to look forward to, for something for people to see, and might hopefully bring people into our towns across the district and encourage them to maybe do a bit of shopping when they're in the town, get them in of course a socially distanced manner, and hopefully support businesses as well, Chair. So I'm happy to propose the recommendations. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Councillor. Next up, Councillor O'Reilly. Councillor O'Reilly,
Thank you, Chair. Just as Chair of the Events Strategy Working Group, just to pay a compliment to the officers for the speedy turnaround in being able to adapt this report to focus on those 5 towns
Smaller towns.
and Enniskillen and Omagh. So that is very much appreciated to be able to cater to move outside of our 2 main towns. And hopefully that will help stimulate a little bit of business to those towns as well. Also, just to say well done to the sponsorship that we are looking at here tonight, both in and out. It's quite a while in the making and was quite technical in that making to try and get a system here to be able to allow us as a council to work with sponsorship per se. So just to acknowledge the hard work over quite a lengthy period of time, Chair.
And are you happy to second, Councillor O'Reilly?
As chair, I leave that to somebody else's discretion.
I do believe the courtesy is that the chair usually proposes, maybe for information for other councillors. I have Councillor Campbell up next.
Yes, Chairman. Chairman, do you hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead, Glenn. Yes, you're loud and clear.
I'm happy to second this report, and I welcome the recommendations and the support for smaller towns as well as welcome. And on a related matter, I wanted to just a couple of minutes, if you'll allow me, in relation to events. Chairman, there has been a huge impact, as you well know, on the arts, including music, bands, actors, community drama groups, and also businesses and employees involved in events management itself. And as a council, and both legacy councils, as you know, Chair, have always valued the roles that arts plays, not least the role in participating and enjoying arts, the role that has in promoting the health and well-being of the citizens of our district. And COVID-19 has resulted, as John has said, in events which we would normally host, and although regrettable, that has resulted in some financial savings. It's my understanding maybe around, and someone can correct me, maybe around 100,000 this year. And I want to, Chair, make the proposal that a COVID-specific fund be established to support those individual groups and businesses involved in the arts and events management. Some form of financial assistance might go some way to help those severely affected, to learn new skills perhaps during the period of lockdown, or to diversify into new ventures related to arts and entertainment. So I would propose that officers would look into such a fund and bring proposals back to the next meeting of the Community and Regeneration Committee in November. And I would add too, Chair, that we've all benefited from the work of our local artists over this difficult period. Free concerts and social media, they really have played a role in lifting the spirits and promoting well-being through these tough and challenging times. And I want the singers and artists who helped entertain people at lunchtime in Omagh and recent Saturdays to support economic recovery efforts, and commend the council employees responsible for facilitating that initiative. And just to finish, Chair, I do want our council to send a strong message to those involved in the arts and events management at this time, that we have valued the contribution in the past, we look forward to doing this so in the future, and that we want to contribute in some small way to supporting them through this crisis, Chair. I just want to make that proposal.
Thanks for that, Glenn. And I have just put my screen off, back on again. Next, let's Councillor Donnelly, Sean Donnelly. You happy to second that proposal, Sean?
Happy to second Glenn's proposal. Was Tommy's proposal seconded?
Here.
Councillor.
Glenn seconded, Councillor Campbell seconded that proposal.
That's okay. That's okay.
Just bear with me, members. Now I have lost my screen. If you could just bear with me for a moment. Perhaps you could hand over to John there, just maybe in a response to that proposal while I get this sorted.
Yeah, Chair. I suppose during the time of COVID, there were many changes in the way that we delivered arts and culture online, very successfully online. One of the most successful councils, in fact, to have an online presence in the arts function. Yes, something we will certainly look at.
Sorry,
one thing I will say is that the fund, we are under financial pressure. within the council as a whole. And whilst we weren't at expenditure, we lost an awful lot of income in some of our other functions, such as in other arts functions, indeed, and indeed in our leisure centre. So we are financially we are under pressure. We will certainly have a look at what we can do to support the arts, and we continue to do that as we go. But as for giving substantial sums of money for it in this financial year, it may not be possible.
Thanks for that, John. Councillor Wilson, next on the list. Go on. Councillor Swift, Collier Swift.
Yeah, just very quickly, and I think Glenn's idea and proposal is very good and welcome to all the musicians and artists out there who, like many others, are really feeling the pinch with no support coming from a central government or higher government. And indeed, you've probably picked up on the news this evening where the Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, made his announcement for the struggling musicians that they should retrain and get new jobs. Now, I would hate to see the likes of Nathan Carter and Sean Corrigan and all our great locals have to do that. We need the great music business for our health and well-being, one of the pillars of our community plan. And well done to the Ardone for what they're doing every Friday night live for us. So well done.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor. Just trying to keep the wee conversation pieces to a minimum if we can. And again, I've brought something up here that shouldn't be on my screen. Apologies. Barry Michael Duff, Collier Michael Duff.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. As you know, OMA is a mecca of entertainment and the arts. That's directed at Councillor Swift. But moving on, can I just ask John, how much of the promised £29 million from Department for Communities for the arts sector will be directed towards our council area? There's 11 councils in the north, and it's my understanding that there was a recent executive announcement that £29 million was being directed at the arts. I would like to think it's not all going to the Lyric and the MAC. Where is it going? Thank you, Chair.
Right, obviously we'll get a response to that as
well.
Sorry, John's ready to go here.
Not that easy, Chair. I suppose the decision on the allocation of that monies hasn't been decided yet, and discussions are still ongoing, and we're actively involved in those discussions. So we are with departments in order to try and get our fair share and more than our fair share for Mananoma Council.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that. Sorry, go ahead, Barry. Quick response, quickly.
It's my understanding that the Arts Council is not one of the organisations that is subject to rural proofing, that they have opted out. And councillors and several DEAs are making these points about rural proofing, not least my own colleagues in Erin East make it all the time, and rightly so. But could I suggest that this council seek an informal meeting, WebEx or Zoom meeting with leaders of the Arts Council to hold them to account for the support or otherwise that they give to artists in our council area? Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that, Barry. Are we a seconder for Barry's proposal there?
Yeah, I'll second that. And if he wants to bring Nathan Carter and Sean Corrigan here too,
right. Thanks, Bernice. Thanks for that. Moving on, members. Item 9.1.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This is a report in relation to the Marble Arch UNESCO Global Geopark. It covers a number of items to update the members on the implementation of the management, governance and development review of the Marble Arch Caves UNESCO Geopark, to update them on the revised Memorandum of Association with Cavan County Council to seek approval for the terms of reference for the Management Committee of the Geopark, to seek approval for the Geopark Development Plan 2020 to 2030, to update members on the progress of an office and workshop for the Geopark, and to update members on the Colquhoun Boardwalk. It is a wide-ranging report covering all aspects of the Geopark. It has been tabled at a number of meetings now, and that's why we moved it up onto the agenda this time. So it was recommended that we approve the terms of reference for the Geopark, which is included in Appendix 1, approves the Marble Arch Caves UNESCO Geopark Development Plan, which is included in Appendix 2, notes the approach taken to the visitor management at the Colchia and notes the potential impact on spend of up to £10,000 with new rangers. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, John. Collier Feely.
Thank you, Keir, and I'm very happy to propose this because I'm a member of the committee there, and it's one of the committees I do enjoy being on. I really enjoy it. It's very interesting. But funny, I missed the last meeting, and I say it's the first meeting in a long time I missed it. I just forgot about it, and I give my apologies, Bernice. I came in late too. There's one question you can ask, Tommy. It could have been discussed at that meeting, but I just give me a wee bit of leeway. It's in 2.2.2 there. The recruitment in an office position has not been commenced by Cavan County Council and is unlikely to be done in the short term. I just wonder, is there a reason for that? And if John hasn't an answer, he can email it to me sometime. I just want to get, because I missed the last meeting, and apologies for that. I'm very happy to propose it. I just wanted to, yeah.
Thanks for that, Anthony.
Yeah.
John, have you an answer at this stage? Yeah.
Well, Chair, the Cavan County Council have put a moratorium on recruitment during COVID, and that's the reason why it isn't. We are actually due to have a meeting with Cavan County Council later on this week and discuss all of these issues in relation to the development of the geopark.
Thanks for that, John. I'm happy to propose. Thank you.
Thank you. Collier O'Coffey.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy enough to second it, but I want to raise two issues which I would like to have maybe raised at formally, because I'm not on that committee. The first is I note on I think it's page 16 of the development plan. It states the UNESCO Global Geoparks have a strong emphasis on empowering women, including through the development of women's cooperatives, and also actively involving local and Indigenous peoples. Now, I do notice that there is a commitment to improving community engagement, but there's nothing at all about the development of community cooperatives or the empowerment of women in the document. Secondly, I would also, and I was always surprised that it hasn't been integrated, is that in the area of directly in the middle of this, there is a long-standing tradition of a Gaeltacht area in that Cavan area, which continued into living memory. And I've always felt that there's a potential for the cultural tourism aspect to be developed in particular around Gowland, Dowra and Glangevlin. I'm just wondering if that could be considered by the authorities that be. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Donal. And Councillor Swift, Collier Swift.
Oh, I was just about to take my hand down. I was happy to second that, but just to assure Collier O'Coffey, a woman has been empowered. She's the chair of that committee. So when it's on board the Gaeltacht, those are good points that'll be raised. Okay, Gurmagat.
Look out for the next report there, Councillor Swift. Thank you, Gurmagat. That's 9.2. John again.
Yes, Chair. This is in relation to improvements of the Bessie Bell Trailhead at the Melon Country Inn. Members may be aware of where it is, just at the Melon Country Inn Hotel there. And people have to, in order to get onto the trail, people have to walk alongside the road or on the grass verge, and it is a real health and safety issue. So it is recommended that the council enters into an access agreement with the landowner, develops the path to take walkers off the main road, seeks rural development funding to help fund 75% of this project, and allocates a financial budget to a maximum of 13,000, which is the total cost of the project to deliver this project. Thank you, Chair.
John, Collier McElduff, Avara, Honorary.
I'd like to propose this, Chair. I spoke to people who are very involved in this just this evening, and I understand that the Ulster Way and even a project called the Ireland Way from Cork up to the Sperrins for walkers. There's a special New Year's event at this station, but great work to take the walkers off the main A5 road. So wonderful initiative. Thank you, Chair. And I'd like to propose the adoption of that.
Collier Garrity.
Thank you, Chair, and I will be happy to second the recommendations. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Mary. Councillor Buchanan.
Thank you, Chair. It was just a second, but you've got a seconder there, so I'd be supportive of that as well. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Councillor. Everybody happy? Moving on now. We all have already covered point 1, 10.2. Now we're on to 10.3, and it's back to Kim.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So this report is about the Mid-South West Growth Deal, and it's providing a further update on progress following the last report in July 2020. There are a number of issues. The first is the launch of the Regional Economic Strategy, which was delayed but took place on the 9th of September in a socially distant capacity with limited numbers. It was launched by the First Minister and by the Deputy First Minister, and the launch was live streamed as well, and there is a Mid-South West infographic video and promotional video available, which you can see on the website. At 2.2, there's also an update on the prioritisation of the interventions within the growth deal, and that is outlined. A summary of those are outlined in Appendix 2. Officers are now working on the forward work plan. There's training ongoing in terms of the development of the 5-case business model to support the development of detailed business cases. There's ongoing engagement with a range of stakeholders, and indeed the officers are also working to look at governance arrangements in parallel with the regional governance arrangements. And in terms of the Executive Complementary Fund, unfortunately, there's no further information available yet from the Executive on the detail of that fund, but the officers from across the 3 councils are continuing to develop interventions which they aim to pursue through this fund as well. So the recommendation is that the council notes the ongoing work in relation to the Mid-South West region, notes the allocation of the funding to the growth deal, and that further information on the complementary fund will be provided when available at a future committee meeting.
Thanks for that, Kim. Collier Campbell. Glenn. And down, Councillor Deehan.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Kim, for your report. And yes, indeed, this is a welcome initiative, and the launch was very successful, held last month, and attended by a very high-powered delegation, including the First Minister, Deputy First Minister, Minister Dodds, Mr Walker, Minister of State, and Mr Holland, Chief Executive of Invest NI. Chair, I would like to propose that we would write to the Executive Office and also to Minister Dodds, Mr Walker and Mr Holland, highlighting the fact that investment in the Omagh area in particular needs to be prioritised. It is my view that this area has been neglected. Chair, if I look at the prioritisation of interventions, I can see the A32, the Struhl Education Campus, the redevelopment of St Lucia military site, and zero access to industrialised lands in Omagh. Chair, this is a situation that cannot continue. We need investment urgently. Now, I know that the document, Chair, did not indicate the projects were just presented. They weren't prioritised in any particular order. But, you know, when the Struhl Shared Education Campus was launched, it was a flagship project of the then OFM DFM. We have had very little investment in Omagh, and I would propose that we write asking for this imbalance to be redressed urgently, because as the document says, this is enabling infrastructure, and we need it urgently. We have waited for too long for it. And the Regional Economic Strategy gives a time frame of 10 to 15 years. Chair, too long. We need that investment now. So I want to make that as a proposal, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Josephine. Collier O'Coffey, you wish to second Josephine's proposal?
I'm happy enough to second it. Yeah, I would like to make a proposal, however, to send back this document to whence it came for, because at the moment it reads like a charter against workers' rights. There's a lot of sections in this which are hugely concerning, frankly. Page 6 of the development plan talks about labour being more expensive as migrant labour returns home. There's nothing wrong with workers getting paid more. The idea of displacing workers, making them sacked, redundant, in other words, with investment in automation technology is talked up also on page 6. On page 9, there's a lobbying for a differentiated, more flexible migration policy. Now, I assume that means that we can get workers in from foreign countries and get away with paying them less than is paid in Britain. Also, at the bottom of that page, there is a talk about a long-term risk for individual SMEs from apprenticeships, because now there's going to be a shared apprenticeship model, which basically means that an apprentice isn't guaranteed a job because they've had that many different employers, so there's less risk for the employer. On page 10, there's encouraging businesses to increasingly offer different employment models, flexi working, contract and portfolio working, i.e. precarious contracts for workers. Also on page on page 15, there's references at the very bottom to business incubation space being co-located with our acute hospitals as business opportunities. Now, I don't see any of that as being stuff that we should be supporting as a council. Those are privatisation agendas. That's an agenda of driving down working class conditions. It's a capitalist agenda, which I would propose to oppose. Well, I would request that, propose formally that we as a council reject this draft and call for this to be reviewed in light of its impact on working class people. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that. Donald, have we a seconder for Donald's proposal?
Happy to second that.
Councillor Keane.
Councillor Michael, Emmett Michael was in first there. Collier Curry, you wish to speak there?
Yeah, just looking at the document, and I know there's been so much work has gone into this, and thank our officers who've been part of that, and indeed our members on that group. I just want to welcome the inclusion of the Cornamuck realignment on the A32. This document here is highlighting that 7 of the 9 proposed improvements, which was part of the siting of the Enniskillen Hospital, are still outstanding. So that alignment's between Irvinstown and Dromore, of course, it's welcome. But that whole road is in need of substantial work. And I think that should be highlighted, because we need to remember that healthcare is, you know, it's always a priority to us, and we need to have the infrastructure that facilitates good access for the residents of our district to healthcare services. I want to know just if possible, some of the works that are highlighted in this report, what does that actually mean in terms of this Mid-Southwest deal? Will that scheme be providing the monies, or will that be the infrastructure minister? This is a key piece of infrastructure, and I think that we need to actually highlight that more. Also on the infrastructure, the A4 gets very little mention apart from the southern bypass at Enniskillen. And just to remind, members will all be aware that the A4 was outlined in the Good Friday Agreement. It's in the strategic plans of the Dublin and Stormont governments. We've seen the lengthy process of the A5. So as the council, along with Mid-Ulster, Cavan, Leitrim and Sligo, we need to be raising the profile, and I think that this is an opportunity to do it. I welcome the minor mention of rail there, because that's great environmentally as well. And just, if I could, Kylie, just 2 more. The digital OMA's mentioned here for the Digi Hub. Does Fermanagh have one or more? I see ABC are opting for several around the district, and I think, you know, COVID has made that you know, more of an option, and we've been hearing a lot more about that. Is there a reason why Fermanagh isn't featuring here? And just to welcome that the focus on town centres as well, but can we ensure that this isn't restricted to Enniskillen and Omagh? Irvinstown's a great town with lots of independent retailers who would need this support as well. Overall, Chair, I'd like to see a little bit more of Fermanagh in this. Gormagat.
I see the Chief Executive has put up her hand. Maybe if we could invite Alison in at this stage.
Thank you, Chair. It's really just to pick up on a few of the comments made, if I may, Chair. Firstly, in relation to Councillor O'Coffey's comments regarding the draft and sending it back, I suppose it's just to confirm that this is the strategy as launched, but it is the first piece of work. And to move on to some of the queries that Councillor Curry had, the next stage of work will be the development now of strategic outline cases for the variety of projects and potential projects that are identified. The total funding available to the Mid, South and West region for the growth deal is about 250 million, of which 50% will come from the Northern Ireland Executive. That will be linked specifically to infrastructure, tourism and regeneration, and the remaining on digital and innovation will come from Westminster. So in order to maximise the full funding pot, we will have to come up with 126 million of innovation projects. The identification of Digi hubs is very much at its infancy. We are hoping that the Workhouse project in Enniskillen will actually serve as a main Digi hub for the town and potentially for wider parts of the district as a satellite. And we're also aware of work that Southwest College are doing in their new campus. So I suppose what I would say, Chair, this particular strategy was developed following extensive consultation with the business community, with the government departments, with their own steering group. It is really stage one, and the detail now is on the projects and the potential prioritisations. In terms specifically, of the A4, just to say that the likelihood in terms of the road funding available, I think will amount to probably 2 or 3 schemes if we're fortunate. We would be hoping that this will be an infrastructure-led deal, but it will certainly take, I think, considerable work to be able to get the schemes even identified to a state of readiness for delivery within the time frame. And maybe just to go back, if I may finally, Chair, to Councillor Deacon's proposal, the timescale for the growth deal will be at least 10 to 15 years. That's not to say we can't approach other funders or funding mechanisms in that time frame. But from all of the experience, even neighbours in Belfast, but certainly anywhere in England, Scotland and Wales, these are long-term funding interventions.
Thanks for that, Chief Executive. Next up we have Eamon. Eamon.
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to come in and Donald's there to second it, and I wanted to add an amendment. I would agree that the sentiment of that document is very anti-worker and very anti-working class. The amendment I'd like to make if you'd accept it would be that the growth deal should promote the living wage for all workers in the area.
Yeah, Eamon, okay, but I'm not accepting amendments to the proposal. The proposal was to more or less reject this. So I'm happy enough to accept that that was what Donald was proposing. To send it back, I believe, is what he proposed. So that's still on the table at the minute. Eamon, I'll take that as a seconder for what Donald proposed. Councillor Michael Duff, do you wish to add?
Chair, I do. And if it's appropriate, I'll declare an interest as one of the 4 councillors from the council who sits on the steering group. One of my key points is going to be this. I think the Chief Executive and Councillor Robert Irvine, who has succeeded Cathal Malaghan in the chair of the overall steering group, I think they and others, perhaps Kim, as distinct from the Chief Executive, I'll leave it up to Alison and Kim to work that out, who leads on it and all that sort of stuff. But I think we should have a council workshop, a workshop for the councillors on progress to date in relation to the growth deal, because you can detect the appetite on the part of councillors for participation and making an input. So I would propose, Chair, that this council has an internal workshop for all the councillors, informing them and giving maximum information as to what has been happening so far, and not just relying on a 15-minute slot during an RNC meeting. So when that can be accommodated, I think it would benefit all the councillors. And just to congratulate Robert Irvine on succeeding Cathal as chair. And I think it's an inclusive growth deal. Sometimes that word's used, and reflecting some of the points that Donald and Eamon have made, an inclusive growth deal is very important. We've also been looking at ICBAN, the ICBAN region and complementarity with major projects in the ICBAN region and in our growth deal area. But finally, Chair, as an Omagh Town councillor, I would request that any correspondence goes to Kevin Holland, the Chief Executive of Invest NI, would remind him that there are lands available in Omagh for investment, because that's been disputed. And in a recent engagement, we made that point strongly again. There's approximately 40 acres at a particular location. There's also a Hearn Brothers building in the Gort Rush Industrial Estate, which would be very suitable for decentralisation of a unit of government. So these are projects that we should be advancing as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that, Barry. Councillor O'Reilly coming up. But just for clarification then, to try and move this forward, could we, if Councillor O'Coffey would be happy enough, this is down for noting at this stage, and in light of what Barry has just proposed, that we do have an all-council working group and engagement to have a direct input into the construct of any future. Would you be satisfied with that, Councillor O'Coffey?
I'm not satisfied with the document. I'm happy that we would have a meeting about it. Chair, one question I wanted to ask the Chief Executive, because she said that this has been, and it is in the minutes, this has been launched, but when was it actually agreed by this council? Because the last time this came before us in July, it was subject to amendment, and we never saw a finalised copy and agreed it. So this policy, which dictates our economic development strategy for the next 10 years, has not been agreed by the council, as far as I can see. Thank you, Chair.
Right, if you could just bear with me, I'll go to Councillor O'Reilly next on the list and invite Alison maybe back to respond on that.
Thank you, Chair. Again, just in the interest of rural proofing, while I take on board the comments of previous councillors, can I say that on page 14, the cross-border tourism product development of the Ulster Canal is mentioned here, and certainly when we're talking about rural tourism, innovative and job-creating opportunities, the Ulster Canal that has already had some work commenced on it in phase 1, moving to phase 2 now with the Clonus Marina and so forth, lends itself very nicely in the rural countryside of Fermanagh to be something that is pushed up the priority list a little bit more than it is on page 14, Chair. And with that, I'd like to propose, I unfortunately had a meeting with the Minister of Education on the 9th of October when the presentation from What It Was Ireland was delivered around the Ulster Canal and the progress to date. But I would like to propose and ask that Alison would initiate that the ministerial-led Ulster Canal Working Group, which myself and Victor are the council representatives on, would be reinstated, and that priority work is on. I haven't gotten where I am.
Sorry, Thomas, were you finished there?
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
There was some background noise there.
So that was the proposal, Chair, that we would look to initiate the ministerial-led Ulster Canal Working Group that myself and Victor are the council representatives on. That has not met in a couple of years now, and we are moving to phase 2 in the Ulster Canal, working funded by the Southern Government, and the opportunity is now very much to be able to complement that with the Northern section, Chair.
Thanks for that, Thomas. Councillor Green. Up next. Seamus, all right.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. No, I was coming in on the back of what Donald had said in around to this having been launched in July. I myself can't remember us agreeing to it. As the Chief Executive, maybe it has went through something, I can't recall it, but is it not something that had to be agreed by council, or is the council irrelevant in all of this?
More questions? Thanks for that, Seamus. Bernice, have you a further question maybe, and we'll get all the questions at the one time then?
No, it's just to support Thomas and just add a wee bit more on the waterways arising out of our ministry.
Right. We're going slightly off the agenda at that. I understand the details within the report, but I need to try and get this progressed somewhere. if we can manage time. Chief Executive Alison, please.
Okay, Chair, thank you very much. Chair, we can certainly map back in terms of the reports and details. My recollection was that we had brought a number of reports in terms of updates. The council had agreed to participate and had nominated its members. We had brought the draft through, comments were made, and the document in terms of the regional economic strategy was approved via the governance steering group. So that is my recollection of the sequence of events, but I can certainly clarify that for subsequently. I think, Chair, there may be some misunderstanding about the status of the work. So in essence, what the requirement for us as a collective of councils is firstly to set out what are known as these investment pillars or investment interventions are likely to look at. As I've already mentioned, the funding envelope is quite limited, and the detail of the work now is on project identification, selection, and working through the governance requirements. So what you see now is essentially setting out that we envisage this being infrastructure-led. There has to be significant innovation components to draw down the match funding from Treasury. We would expect there to be significant tourism infrastructure development as part of it. And as we have set out within the regional economic strategy, the growth deal is one financial lever, but hopefully there will be others in relation to Peace Plus and some of the other cross-border funds in particular, and the complementary fund that Kim has already identified. We can certainly bring the overall timeline and the choreography of that back to you, Chair, but it's I wouldn't concur with Councillor O'Coffey's comments that this is essentially setting out your stall for the next 10 to 15 years. I think this is setting out the ask to government around the infrastructure deficit in each of the three council areas, and this really allows the work, which I would think will take probably 2.5 years to work on the business cases and the associated project identification and development. And I think Councillor McElduff's suggestion of an informal workshop would allow us to go through the detail of what growth deals are, and then ultimately how they're intended to complement central government's wider funding.
Thanks for that, Alison. Councillor Swift, have you a comment in light of that? But try to make it brief now, because we've spent quite a bit of time on this one issue here.
No, I'm satisfied with that, but it was just the waterways one. Did you want me to elaborate on that arising out of our meeting? Remember the other day you'd said we couldn't do a proposal formally there, but in light of Thomas raising the waterways issue now, do you remember we talked about the strategic plan?
Yes.
The other day. So and Thomas's input on the day would have been useful. He'd have known more about it than me, or certainly. But Thomas, it was just they had talked about, as you've mentioned there, the Ulster Canal, and very much talking about, you know, Shannon and everything else. And we had asked for a strategic plan for tourism, specifically for the Erne, which they led on, you know, on the Shannon. And we really wanted to nail that down. And as you've brought it up now, I think it's timely to have that, because we have invested a lot in floating jetties, and we had mentioned kayaking and the wild swimming that's going on, but we would like to be in a position to promote the Erne, and you know as well, Tommy, from around the island town and all of that. So just to nail that down, and Kim gave us an assurance on the day that they would be linking up with more meetings, but very happy to second Thomas's proposal. Cormac.
That's correct, Councillor. We couldn't make the proposal because it was an informal meeting, so Thomas has made it there now, and you've seconded that. You have that noted, Kim. Yeah. Okay, happy enough. All agreed on Thomas and Bernice's aspect. Sorry, go ahead, Tom. You wish to come back?
Sorry, Tommy, just to make the differentiation, quite happy to make that as the proposal, but that is a separate proposal from the Ulster Canal ministerial-led working group. Two separate things there, Chair, just to make sure that we have the two of them covered. And I'm sure Bernice is happy to second.
Yes, Thomas, happy to second that. Sorry, yeah.
Right. Now, we have this paper in front of us for noting. There are obviously dissenting voices that will not even agree to the noting of. Could I ask for the dissenting voices to make their names known to me? And therefore, so I can proceed. Sorry, who's that?
Sorry, Tommy, Chair, it's Mary here. I'm not sure if you got a seconder for Councillor Michael Duff's proposal for an update or a pre-meeting or to see where we are. If it did help members, if you've got a seconder, my apologies, but if you haven't, I would second that. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Mary, but I had accepted the Chief Executive's suggestion that it would be actioned. I thought that was already dealt with, so thanks for that. We'll make it a formal proposal and seconded by Barry and Mary that we organise a workshop in relation. Now,
Chair, can I just come in a sec?
Right, Josephine?
Thank you, Chair. Well, Chair, I have noted the comments from members and from the officers, but I still would like, I don't really agree with having this report noted. There are a number of proposals that have come from it, but I would still like to ask for the support of the Council in writing to those, writing letters, as I outlined in my initial proposal, the Executive Office, Mrs. Dodds, Mr. Walker, and Mr. Holland, the Chief Executive of Invest NI, highlighting the lack of investment in the Omagh area and asking them to take note of that. And yes, I understand that, you know, the second document is the prioritising interventions, but you know, all of the projects that I have outlined in my proposal have been outstanding for years and years. And I think that, you know, we need investment.
Right.
In the
Sorry, Councillor, sorry, not wishing to cut across you, but all those points were made recently at a meeting with Invest NI and all those other, and indeed meetings at partnership panel and through Milga, etc. So just if you could bear with me, bear with me. Yeah,
I would
sorry.
like my proposal to stand, seconded by Councillor O'Coffey. Thank you.
Right, bear with me, please. Sorry, just seeking some clarification. I still believe I need somebody to propose and second for noting this document, and then I will go through the various proposals that we have a seconder for already.
Alec Baird here. I propose the noting as recommendation 8.
Thanks for that, Alex. Have we a seconder?
Mr. Thornton. Second that, Victor Warrington.
Right. So we have a proposed and seconder for noting. I will suggest I will ask for anyone that's opposing to make themselves known.
Chair, can I object to that? I made a proposal and it hasn't been heard. I think it's contrary to that. So.
Sorry, you mustn't have heard me there, Councillor. I've already indicated I need this paper noted, and then we're going through the various proposals from yourself and all the other members. If you could just bear with me. But I need to get this document off the agenda as in noted according to the agenda, and then the various objections and points that were made and separate proposals will be dealt with. Is everyone happy enough with that? So those who are objecting to the noting, if they could make themselves known. Happy enough that we noted. Thank you, members, to get that shifted off the table. Now, with the assistance of Kim, I have a chat from Councillor O'Coffey that he has objected. That will be noted, Donald. Now, if we could...
Object as well. Councillor Keenan, object.
Sorry, members, I did ask you to make yourselves known. Thank you, Eamon.
Sorry, Chair, I'm objecting that too.
That will be noted. We're all working through it slowly here, Emmett. Right, so we have Emmett, Donald and Eamon have objected to the noting. Now, Kim, with your assistance, if we could work down through the various proposals that we got.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So the first proposal was from Councillor Deehan, seconded by Councillor Coffey, and it was a proposal we write to the Executive Office, to Minister Dodds, Mr Walker and Mr Holland, highlighting the investment deficit in the Oma area, and which needs to be redressed.
Everyone in favour? Thank you, members. Take that as agreed. Next one, Kim, please.
The next proposal was Councillor O'Coffey. Sorry, Chair, I'm just going through my notes. Who proposed that we send the document back? Alison, or the Chief Executive, has noted, Chair, that the document has gone through the Governance Steering Group, and we will come back to you when we track back through the approval processes here. So if maybe we could report to the next meeting just to clarify the approval processes at this point. But that proposal from Councillor Coffey was seconded by Councillor Keenan.
Councillor Coffey?
Chair, a point of order, just...
sorry, Councillor Green. Sorry.
Thanks, Chair. Can I just get clarification from Alison, or maybe that's what, or from the Chief Executive, maybe that's what this clarification is going to come back with. But
that's it.
Surely the council has the final say on any documents. It's not a working group, or it's not. How can working groups authorise documents to be launched without even a cluster council? Surely the council group, as the governing body, we make.
Right, Seamus, if I could ask the Chief Executive just to respond to Councillor Green's query there about the oversight process and who prepared the document, I suppose.
Yeah, Chair, in relation to this, and as noted earlier, my recollection is we presented the previous drafts through the final. There were amendments made, both following on from the business, the industry reference group, as well as from the respective councils, and that each of the councils has reported through subsequent to the launch. That's my recollection. And the governance group, who had also made some changes, they were the final overseeing body on this one. That's my recollection, but we will bring the detail back, Chair.
Happy enough with the clarification, Seamus? Okay,
well, it's a clarification. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm happy about it, because I think the council is the final say on anything, as far as I'm aware. But there you go.
Okay, and Councillor Coffey, your hands up. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I was going to actually come in on the same point as Councillor Green has just rightfully commented on. I checked the minutes in July. Now, we did see an earlier draft of this document, but we certainly did never see the final draft, and this council has not authorised this. This is the framework for the economic strategy of this region for the next 10 years. We have not signed off on it. I'm not happy with that. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Donald.
We will bring a report back to the next meeting just to clarify the governance. It's...
Okay, members happy enough with a report at the next meeting. Okay. Any further proposals out of that?
Yes, Chair. The third proposal was from Councillor McElduff, seconded by Councillor Gardy, which was a proposal for us to hold an informal workshop for members to
Thank you.
Go through the growth deal direction.
All agreed? Thank you, members. That will take place.
And a fourth proposal then from Councillor O'Reilly, seconded by Councillor Green, which was around the Ulster Canal and right to reinitiate the ministerial-led Ulster Canal Working Group.
Can I come in there? I think that was Councillor Swift seconded that, not Councillor Green.
Apologies, Councillor.
Thanks for that clarification. Seamus, you're happy enough with that? Bernice, yes. And Thomas, yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, all agreed, members? Good job. Moving on now, members. 10.44, the Broadband Working Group update.
Sorry, Chair. Sorry. Is Thomas here?
Oh, sorry, Thomas, yes.
There was the second. I knew there'd be a bit of confusion
Yeah.
there. There was the second proposal by Bernice that I was happy to second about the promotion of the EARN system now that the work has been done by Waterways Ireland and so forth. So that's a combined promotion of the system. And Bernice proposed that and I seconded.
Right. So on the proposal of Councillor Swift, seconded by Councillor O'Reilly, all agreed? Thank you, members. Thanks for that clarification, Tom. There was quite a few proposals in there. Moving on now, 10.4 Broadband Working Group Update.
Okay, thank you, Chair. This report then provides members with an update on broadband working group meetings held on 20th of July and 29th of September, and it's seeking endorsement of the recommendations from those meetings. The notes of the meetings are attached as Appendix 1 and 2, and there is also some correspondence which was considered at the meetings as part of that. So paragraph 2.2 sets out a number of recommendations from each of those meetings, which we are looking for approval tonight. In terms of recommendation 2, at the top of page 2 and 3, press coverage has now indicated that the contract for Project Stratum has now been awarded. We haven't had an official update from Department for the Economy, but there has been some media coverage around that. Officials have also confirmed that a rural proofing assessment of Project Stratum has been undertaken. And then in respect of recommendation 4, a presentation from Openreach was received at the September Broadband Working Group. With regard to recommendation 13, planning officers have indicated that the works undertaken at a telecommunications mast in Omagh are permitted development under Part 18 of the planning order, and the operator hasn't indicated that those works have not facilitated 5G provision. The working group also made a recommendation in terms of seeking independent advice in terms of the risk to human health from 5G. That was based on some correspondence which was received at the meeting from some government correspondence. The Council's Environmental Health Service, however, has indicated that the guidance on 5G, which was considered, referred to advice from Public Health England, which is recognised as providing independent health advice, and I've provided links below to PHE guidance on the subject. And then finally, Chair, there's an updated list of postcodes for Project Stratum Intervention Area attached to Appendix 3 with updated GIS mapping undertaken by Council officers at Appendix 4. So it's recommended that the actions as outlined at Par 2.2 are noted, that the DFE officials have confirmed a rural impact assessment has been undertaken in respect of Project Stratum, that we note the update provided in respect of the eligible postcodes within the Project Stratum intervention area, that we note the update provided in respect of recent works to telecommunications mast in Omagh, and also that we note that Public Health England is recognised as an independent authority in relation to guidance in public health, including in respect of the health risks associated with 5G. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Kim. Collier O'Kelly, Catherine Kelly.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm happy to note documents here, but I wanted to take this opportunity. I was going to wait to 12 to 12 correspondence was discussed, but I'll jump in now if that's all right with you, Chair. Councillor Baird can attest to the report we got last week in our NILGA executive from the Department of the Economy about the precarious economic situation that we face in the coming months and years. One of the things that I wanted to ask the Department of Economy in the meeting was about broadband, but we didn't get the opportunity as it ran on a bit longer than planned. So I would like the Council, if we could, to write back again to the Department and ask them for a more definitive date for the commencement of the work, because broadband in rural communities is going to be more essential than ever, so that our small businesses and our rural entrepreneurs have a fair chance to compete in the environment that we are facing. I would also ask that we write to the Department to ask them how they're preparing to roll out projects 1 and 2, and what is the department doing to ensure that local government is fully engaged and involved in this process? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Green, Collier Green.
Yeah, Chair. It's just the list of postcodes that has been given there in this report. I would request or propose that we actually take a look, or can we produce the postcode that has been deleted from this? Because from this has started, this postcode list has continually changed, and as you look at postcodes, it's very hard unless you go through each of them individually to know where they are and in what relation to broadband are. All I can go by is my own postcode, which was put on as it was put on that it needed broadband first. Then it was put on as a supplementary, and now it seems to have disappeared altogether. I can confirm, and because I know my own postcode, there's zero broadband coming through the wires to this postcode. But the ones running Project Stratum decided to contact all the wireless broadband providers and see what they could provide, and some of them are providing a service which is the only service I can access, and as you know, it's very intermittent, and it comes and goes. In fact, the other day when I was chairing the audit committee, I was cut off after about 20 minutes with broadband. So I would like to see what exactly has been done to this postcode list, because I actually believe it has been butchered, and I don't know where it has been. Other places have been added on, but I think it does need a bit of scrutiny, because a list of postcodes is very, very hard to weigh up or figure out exactly what is going on when you just see that you have a blank list of letters and numbers. So I would request the council provide us with a list, if possible, of all the ones that has been deleted, and perhaps the ones that has been added. Could be quite interesting to see where they've been the ones that has been added on that has taken the place of the ones that has been deleted.
Are you happy enough to second the report as well, Seamus?
Yeah.
Accepting the report, but asking the question for clarification as to where the postcards are exactly in the district. Happy enough with that. Next up is Collier McAleer. Raylat.
It's in relation to the item raised, item 8, page 2, in relation to the 5G mast at Kerry Foods Home Bargains in Oma. And whilst welcoming the correspondence to clarify or confirm that those particular works don't actually facilitate 5G technology at present, we've been informed in the same correspondence that the permitted development order actually doesn't differentiate between 4G and 5G, and I suppose the council has taken a position that we're sceptical, and I suppose being mindful of whatever information has come through from Public Health England, that it may not answer all the questions that either councillors or the constituents have. So I would like to make a proposal that as a council, maybe adopt the same position in terms of permitted development as we have with minerals and mining, and that any 5G applications are presented to council and discussed at full council level rather than just being pushed through, because I think otherwise we're standing to be bypassed. I would also just be mindful of the recent announcement by the Minister for Infrastructure, in which she has included upgrades on mobile phone masts and antennas as part of her relaxation on GDPR, or on permitted development rights, that we would contact her maybe to seek a bit more clarification in relation to 5G and the implementation of this new technology, whether it's included on that, because I think it's something personally, and quite a number of constituents have raised this issue with me, and they've raised it now prior. I know it's been linked to the COVID-19 and some of the maybe more left field kind of claims coming out of that, but it was an issue before COVID-19 was an issue. So I would like to pursue that in terms of the residents and the constituents that I represent. Thank you, Chair.
Sorry. John, are you going to make no? Okay. Just a bit of a tech problem here again. Have we a seconder for that proposal of Councillor McAleers? Councillor Keenan, happy enough to second that proposal of Councillor McAleers. Okay, so I'll put that proposal to the members first before we move on. Councillor McAleer's proposal that any permitted 5G installation is brought before Council.
Chair. Councillor Irvine, point of order.
Go ahead, Councillor Irvine.
Sorry, as Chair of Planning Committee, I'm going to have to declare an interest and be recorded as not taking part of the vote, please.
Chair.
You can realise that I'm also having a quandary here at the minute. So, bear with me. Donald, go ahead. Have
Yeah,
a
it's just
resolution of
very,
this.
I would like to make an amendment to Councillor McAleer's proposal,
sorry,
because there's a slight error in it. It's just a
sorry,
minor error.
Sorry, Donald. Sorry, Donald. Well, yeah, it's up to you to correct Emmett if you wish, Donald. But as Councillor Irvine has pointed out, there is the potential for planning being considered. And as I'm on the planning committee and also chair of this committee, and do not have an alternative councillor in the town hall at the moment, I'm wondering, in best practice, could you withdraw that proposal at this stage, Councillor McAleer, and possibly bring it in at a later stage when the chair is not compromised? Would that be... I do understand that you wish to get it raised at this point, but it is causing a bit of difficulty with members of the planning.
Chair, well, I appreciate that, Chair. I'm wondering, could the planning members possibly abstain from the vote or not
no,
be included in the vote?
Well, the code of conduct training indicates that if you're compromised, you must leave the chamber. That's the training you'll get at the code of conduct training, NILGA and our own. So that's
would it be possible then to leave the chamber for the vote?
The chair then would have a committee with no chair, and that's... We're getting ridiculous. We are getting ridiculous now, Councillor. I have asked you, in all fairness, you do know in light of COVID-19 that there is no chamber full of members here, and you have just on ad hoc dropped in a motion there, and I'm asking you to proceed with the meeting in a proper fashion. I'm afraid there's no way, if you leave your proposal on the table, that we can deal with it tonight. Now that's not a ruling of the chair, but that's I'm relying on your own best judgment.
Well, just as a point of accuracy, it's a proposal and not a motion, but it's like we don't know when the next proposal for one of these things is going to come in. So like I'm mindful of what you're saying.
Yes, well. It is
under duress. I will remove it now. But
sorry. I don't believe there was any duress in my suggestion, and certainly I wouldn't wish to put you under any duress. But you are aware of the COVID-19 restrictions on the meetings, and as indicated by Councillor Irvine, members of the planning committee are compromised on your proposal. I'm aware it was a proposal. I'm sorry if I said motion by in error there.
Possibly, Chair, if I propose to have it heard under any other business, if this evening, time permitting, or tomorrow evening.
No, again, that's what I'm saying. But due to the compromise of the planning committee members, and I'm in the chair and I'm on my own in the town hall, that's not possible at this meeting. But obviously, you can send in the motion or the proposal at your earliest convenience after that. As I say, I do apologise, Councillor. You're well entitled to make it, but unfortunately, it does draw that issue.
I didn't realise you were on your own there, Chair. That's all right.
Yeah, there's absolutely just myself in the chamber tonight. I did make provision at the previous meeting because I was aware of issues of conflict. Thanks for that, Emmett Gorman for withdrawing that. So where were we there? We have a proposer and a seconder to adopt that. Everyone happy now? And we have a proposal from Councillor Green for further information. Okay, councillors, moving on. Yeah, and there was a proposal from Councillor Kelly as well, I believe. Kim has just informed me. I'm sorry, it's all getting a bit hectic here. Everybody agreed? Thank you, members. Moving on, item 10.5. The report of the Agriculture Liaison Group.
Thank you, Chair. So item 10.5 is an update report on recent meetings of the Council's Agriculture Liaison Group held on 8th of September, 6th and 7th of October, and to seek Council approval to progress the identified recommendations. The key issues are as set out in section 2, and the meeting on the 7th of October was with the Agriculture Minister, and there were a number of actions identified then in terms of following the meeting to issue correspondence to thank him and his officials for attendance at the Agriculture Liaison Group, and to further request information on the farm modernisation scheme and matters pertaining to mineral extraction within the district, and also correspondence be issued to the department regarding the transportation of poultry across parts of Northern Ireland and the implications on the spread of poultry disease. So it's recommended that the update report on the meetings of the Agriculture Liaison Group is noted and that the recommendations outlined in section 2 of the report are approved.
Thanking you, Kim. Councillor Digi.
Thank you, Chair. Just briefly, thank you, Kim, for your report. Just briefly, Appendix 3, the report of the ministerial meeting. Chair, if I could just have it very briefly referenced, because I believe it's important, under the heading of initiatives to support biodiversity. I did reference to the Minister and ask him specifically about the new biodiversity strategy for Northern Ireland, which expired in July of this year, and also the Habitat and Species Action Plan. So it's just for the record to have that minuted, because I just think it's quite important. The Minister did not give any specific answer on that, so perhaps we could follow up with a letter to clarify that. Chair, thank you.
Thanks for that, Josephine. Okay with that clarification, Kim? Yeah.
Do you want to take a seconder for that proposal?
And I need a seconder for it. Councillor Greed, you're next up. Seamus?
Thanks, Chair. It is just in around 2.1 in the report. I asked the Minister in around the levelling of the area-based scheme, which he, as Minister, had stopped at a 5-year time scale instead of letting it on to 7 years, and this which badly affects hill farmers. It basically makes a two-tier system where the big inland farmers get more money per hectare than hill farmers, and this was after the DUP being cut. Excuse me. This was after the DUP also cut the NC payment a number of years ago. So it was I asked if in around that farmers perceived that hills that they were being attacked and what proposals had been put in that. I don't think that accurately reflects the question nor the answer when the Minister said he'd rather look forward than look back. And the point I'm making is I asked the day before at a pre-meeting, would it be possible that the council records these types of meetings, because I remember us being challenged previously around keeping these type of things closed from public scrutiny and that, and I realised it was an informal meeting and that, but there was nothing to do with national security or NASA or anything, you know, that was a major thing that the general public couldn't hear. So I'm just wondering, is there can we get to the stage where the likes of these things that are questions and answers that should be open to the public, can be open to the public, and that people can actually see for themselves what's going on and what the answers is. And I'm not just talking about this meeting in general. I'm talking about numerous ones that the council has. Is there any way, or have I been very naive in this, that the public should be able to view these things?
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Feely, Collier Feely.
Yeah. Just kind of agreeing with Seamus there. Now, I was just going to propose it as well. Tommy, you don't propose it. Just agree with Seamus there, okay?
Right, Anthony, thanks for the proposal. Have we a seconder?
Chair, I hand up, I think.
Sorry, you're well down the list, Bert. I have seen your hand there.
Right, I thought I was colourblind.
No, your hand's up, but there's quite a few hands up here at the moment. In fact, Bert, yours seems to have on and off there, Bert. Maybe are you pressing yourself on and off again? Maybe that's not helping me here. I'll allow you to speak now. You're on there, Bert. Go ahead.
Chair, I was going to second or propose that we accept this, but regarding what Councillor Glean says, I spoke to a financial advisor for agriculture today who does 60 farmers, lowland farmers books. 48 of those, their income was between £201 and 500, 3 between 500 and 1,000, 3 between 1,000 and 300, 2 between 3,000 and 500, and 1 between 5,000 and 10,000. So I can understand what Councillor Green's saying, but the lowland farmer is not making a fortune either. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Bert. Councillor Swift.
Yeah, I don't know if Josephine's was seconded, but I'm happy to second that. And arising from the ministerial meeting, or the meeting with the minister that we had, I'm still reflecting on how useful that meeting was. There are still a few gaps in some of the questions that we asked on the day, and clarification is most definitely needed. And I do feel strongly that his team, 9-strong team that he had accompanying on the day, we need to have further follow-up with them on many of the issues, particularly one that I had asked on the climate change and the environmental issues and problems in the Bow area. They assured that there is joint up working between the departments. Well, I would like to hear and see some very hard evidence of that, because if it doesn't relate and materialise for our constituents and citizens, well then it just means we've just engaged another talking shop, and really with no useful purpose. So if Kim can follow up on that for us, it would be great. But happy to second that for Josephine.
Thank you.
All the documents too. Thank you very much.
Right. Collier McElduff, Nunneray Avara.
In the recent past, councillors have argued strongly for a support package for small farmers. Sometimes they're referred to as hill farmers. I think Seamus refers to them as ANC. For like ANC farmers and grants that have been removed. But how successful have we been in securing a package for the excluded group of farmers? Because I take calls from rural DEAs such as Mid Tyrone and West Tyrone from farmers who say, I know you're making the case, but are we politically getting through? So my question is Minister Poots of a mind, or has he already done it? Has he created a package, or is he going to create a package of support measures for the small farmers, the category that our councillors have been highlighting?
Thanks for that, Barry. Bert Wilson, your hand's up is still. You wish to? No. Collier McCaffrey, Christor.
Carly, just a very quick statement here for myself. I also attended a meeting with the Minister, and we were pleased to have him online with us, and we appreciate him giving his time. But he did duck and dodge a lot of questions, particularly in relation to the environment and to Brexit. Now, I know there are obviously other things going on at the moment. Of course, we have the COVID-19 pandemic, although we are nearing this the end of the transition period, and we have about 10.5 weeks. Now, when quizzed about Brexit, he did say that his department was working on it and that there was a lot of work to do. However, without substance or without an actual answer. So, of course, we'd be worrying for people, especially in the border areas. And I just want to finish on this point. We have seen a recent announcement there from ASDA, which has followed in the steps of other British supermarkets, such as the Cooperative and several others a number of years ago, who are now saying they want to source British-only produce, which will come as a huge blow to the Irish beef sector in an already difficult climate. People are already struggling to make ends meet, and now we have this sort of reckless statement from a large supermarket such as that. And I would say that Britain is not self-sustainable on their own beef produce. They do rely on imports, and they do rely heavily on Irish imports. So I felt that was a very reckless statement. I would like to say if the minister would have any comment on something like that. So I would propose that we would write to the dear minister to see what exactly is his department preparing for in terms of the 10.5 week period we have left before the transition period is finished. Gurmila Mogad.
Gurmila Christor, Emmett McAleer, Colin McAleer, Lanneray.
Yeah, I'm going to be very brief, but just to support what Councillor Green was saying there, I think it's very important that we do open the likes of this and other meetings up as best we can. Now, I've had requests for the likes of the Disability Advisory Group and others to be opened up, so I would fully support that, second it if need be. And just a point of accuracy, I think, for the previous speaker, my understanding is Asda is actually American-owned Walmart. It's not British, so it's not like I'm probably to be claiming something that's British when it's not. But there you go. Thank you, Chair.
I do believe they've just recently been taken over by a British pair of billionaires or millionaires. Emmett, maybe just for your information. So Christopher was.
Yeah, quite right.
Thanks for that. Thanks for your support there, councillors. Councillor McLaughlin.
Thank you, Chair. I was lucky enough to have the time to be able to sit in and watch the meeting with the Agricultural Minister. One thing I did notice, he really doesn't have an understanding of the conditions of farming in Fermanagh and Omagh areas. And he didn't suggest that he did. What I felt when he challenged our committee as to how they would see farming in Fermanagh and Omagh, we didn't have a strategy either. And it's obvious the models of farming that are currently going on in the Fermanagh and Omagh district area are not as productive as they were years ago. They're not making the money. So we need to be looking at agriculture differently. And we as a council, I believe we should be taking a lead on this so that we can go back to Minister Poots and say, this is what we should be doing in Fermanagh and Omagh, and this is what we want you to give us money to do. So that's my personal views.
Thanks for your contribution there, John. Donald O'Coffey, Corley O'Coffey, Lanneray.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, can I just ask for clarification of someone who was at that meeting, because there's something in the minutes here. I can hardly believe I'm reading it. Did the Minister Poots, compare and contrast? Like, did he offer a juxtaposition between the balancing the requirements of the environment with issues such as good mental health and well-being? Because I can't see how mental health and well-being is something that would stop us from having good environmental practice. Equally, I'm very surprised that the minister neglected to remember all the millions that his party and others in the executive have channeled through the anaerobic digester grants, which have been pump priming, as has been revealed by the likes of Sam McBride recently, an industry and the profits of the few yet again, like the RHI scandal previously. Right. I'm just very surprised the minister forgot that bit.
Right. Thanks for that, Donald. Collier Feely, you wishing to come back in?
I was just going to come in to second Chris's proposal there. That Chris,
Right.
nobody seconded.
Right.
I just want to say just briefly when I am back in, and John McLaughlin mentioned that, Councillor McLaughlin, when Minister Pitch did ask us that, he asked Seamus what he thought of the Hill Farm, and I told him the same. I want to continue doing what I am doing, being a suckler cow, keep suckler cows, and that we want to continue what we are doing, and we just want equality. We just want to be as equal as everybody else. So just clarification of that. When he did ask us what we wanted for Hill Farming, that's what we want.
Thanks for that, Anthony Gormayagat. Bert, you wish to add one more? Just keep it very short, Bert. You've already been in there.
I can just understand the problem that he mentioned about mental stress, and that is farmers are under a lot of mental stress. I'm looking out of a window here. My grandson, who's working from 6:30 this morning, is still out working there, and you know that shouldn't be. It shouldn't have to be.
Yeah, thanks for that, Bert. Sean Donnelly, Collier Donnelly. None right, Sean. John.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to. I'm happy to second Barry McElduff's proposal there.
Barry McElduff proposal. Right, Sean. Thanks for that. And now we have Collier John Coyle, Councillor John Coyle, please.
Thank you, Chair. No, I attended the meeting and I thank the Minister for coming. A bit disheartened, about certain aspects. We had him because of giving no COVID recovery money to the hill farmer. Obviously, it was given to the beef industry, which has helped to promote, maybe better prices in the marts over this last number of, the last 2 months, which is a help to the primary producer. But it is vitally important that the Minister does, see that there is, financial stress, in the farm and hill farmers at the minute. I asked questions, about, we provide a very good product, and it needs to be more promoted. We have good agri-food, producers here, and it needs to be promoted. So I'm hoping that the department will carry that forward. Thank you.
Yeah, right. Thanks for that, Councillor. So to sum up, we have a proposer and a seconder, Anthony Feely and Bert Wilson, that for 10.5, all agreed. Now we have a proposal from Christopher McCaffrey, and you have them in order there, Kim. If you could just reiterate the other proposals for me, please.
Okay, Chair, we have a proposal from Councillor Deehan, seconded by Councillor Swift, that we write to the Minister seeking clarification in terms of the point about the biodiversity strategy, which was raised at the meeting.
All agreed? Agreed.
We have a proposal from Councillor McElduff, seconded by Councillor Sean Donnelly, that we again ask the Minister if he is of mind to create a package for small farmers.
All agreed? And finally, Councillor McCaffrey. We have a
proposal from Councillor McCaffrey, seconded by Councillor Feely, that we ask the Minister what his department is doing to prepare for the end of the transition period within the next 10.5 weeks.
All agreed? Thank you, members. Moving on, 10.6, Gortin Glen Steering Group update.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, just getting the papers sorted here, organised. Okay, so report 10.6, Gortin Glen's Steering Group. This report is to update members in the meeting of the steering group held on the 24th of September and seeking council approval to progress the identified recommendations. And the minute is attached at Appendix 1. There are a number of recommendations set out in section 2.2 of the report, and the recommendation is that the update report in the meeting of the Gortin Glen Steering Group is noted, and the recommendations outlined at Part 2.1 of the report are noted.
Thanks for that, Kim. Councillor McLaughlin.
Apologies, Chair. I thought I'd taken my hand down.
All right. Councillor Feely. Councillor Donnelly. These hands are dropping like flies here. Collier Podrigan Kelly.
Thank you, Chair. Can I propose the recommendations and make reference to the minutes of the meeting, and particularly 6.2, which refers to disability facilities? Despite fake news published by councillors and local newspapers, this paper makes it clear that yes, it was emphasised importance, but was never a proposal. We all support disabled facilities. Thank you.
Good Mark Podrin. Collier McAleer.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm coming in under 2.1, and a proposal that I made hasn't been recorded under the issues here, and that was a proposal in relation to changing places facilities and the provision of such, and I had proposed formally at the time during the meeting. Now, it may not have been heard because I know the Chair had rang in, so possibly there were mobile phone connection issues, and also one of the members had left the microphone on during the meeting, and there was a lot of background noise, and there was a bit of time before that was turned off. But I did make the proposal and reiterated at the end of my proposal too, that we would contact a lady, Christine McClements, who deals specifically with this issue and has been liaising with the finance minister in relation to it, but it doesn't seem to have been noted on the minutes. I had spoken to Kim on this issue, but I would like to see it included on there. I'm not going to raise item 2 at the minute because there's a party who I don't have a councillor within the DEA, but are looking to get the chair of the group for 1 year, but I'll leave that for the group itself, I think. But I would commend item 4 there, the inclusion of the Craig and Trails, but just to see about getting that item that was raised formally as a proposal in relation to the change of places added onto the...
Right, Councillor, I'll hand over to Kim now, but are you happy enough to second the report, the update? Councillor McAleer?
Chair, with that inclusion,
Kim's about to clarify that issue. Okay.
Chair, just to note that the minute is as presented to the appendix, as an appendix to the report. The minute does not record a proposal, and indeed, in terms of Councillor McAleer's query, which he raised earlier, there was no record of formal proposal at the steering group meeting.
Emmett, procedurally, we have a problem if it wasn't recorded at the meeting, and you've already indicated there may have been audio problems.
Just through the chair, just it's unfortunate because this isn't the first time that a proposal that I've made, now not specifically at this group, but at different council committees and council meetings, hasn't been recorded or recorded accurately. So it's quite concerning, but it was a formal proposal. As I say, I've spoken to the council officer. I would be hopeful that it could be included. Thank you, Chair.
I don't know if you can include a minute retrospectively, Councillor. I've never heard tell of that before. If it wasn't picked up at the time.
If it's not, Chair, if it's not minuted, if it could be acted on, I would appreciate it, and it doesn't necessarily. But
Chair, the minute is as presented, and it's a matter for the members of the steering group, who at the next meeting will adopt the minute or amend it. But the minute is presented for noting tonight. And again, it's a matter for members if they want to accept another proposal.
Well, Chair, with that in mind, just I'm not able to second the minutes as they currently stand. Then, thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that, Emmett.
Chair.
Collier Feely. Anthony.
Not me, Tommy. It's not me. No, I must have said.
Your hand's still up. Councillor Wilson.
Chair, I'll second them.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. And Collier Curry, you have your hand up, yeah? Had a hand in Ardya, the love in Ardya.
It's just actually just to compliment the work here that's been done, and I'm not in that area at all, but I just really do love these vistas that are pointing out other mountains and landmarks, across the country, and it's just a question if it could be followed up maybe in a future meeting have we any plans to put boards like this in place in viewpoints in Fermanagh, for example? I was at the Mulligan Creek, Topped Mountain the other day, in the view, the amount of counties you could see, and it would be there is a cairn there, but so that would have to be taken into account. But something like that would be great to see, and just I'm sure there's other places as well. So I'd just like to just ask if a report could be brought maybe in future, just to let us know what we are doing, and if we've any plans to put more of those in. I think it's great.
Yeah, thanks, Siobhan. And just to reiterate, I remember having the same conversation with Robert Gibson a few years ago about specifically Topped Mountain and the view and the vista they have from there. But I did enjoy those pictures that were available for gorging there. So where are we now? We have a proposer and seconder. All agreed?
Chair, I'm going to raise dissent to that one. Thank you, Chair.
That's okay. Thanks for that, Emmett. Moving on, item 10.7.
Thank you,
Tourism
Chair.
Development Initiatives.
Thank you, Chair. So paper 10.7.
Tourism Development.
Tourism Development Report is seeking members' approval to progress a range of tourism development initiatives across the district to support our strategic plans. There are a number of elements to this. So firstly, a multimedia support programme for businesses in the visitor tourism economy. A proposed programme with an estimated budget of 10,000, which will procure photography and videography professionals to provide imagery for businesses. The Tourism NI Experience Development Programme has been launched in August, and it's aiming to provide financial assistance to tourism organisations. So 11 expressions of interest were received, 9 from the district. 9 have been invited to make a full application, and that includes 4 submissions from council as outlined at section 222. There's an update in terms of Slieve Bay and a request from the last meeting of the Ballybay Clones Eastern Partnership in terms of progressing some work in the northern side of that area. There's a project identified which is the Bith Bronze art feature. Officers are working to scope the feasibility of that proposal, including looking at site identification, necessary statutory and other approvals, including if there are any land approvals, and potential funding sources towards the estimated cost, which is up to £40,000. And at the moment, we haven't identified any funding sources at present, but we'll continue to work towards that. The DERA Rural Tourism Collaborative Experience Programme has been launched on 30th of September, and it will provide a resource grant to local councils to identify participants to collaborate in respect of tourism experiences in rural localities. The maximum grant available is 50,000, which can fund up to 75% of eligible costs. Approval is sought to apply, and if successful, to match fund 25% of the programme costs. At 2.5, this is just a note that we have launched a 4-week promotional campaign, Find Our Fermanagh Oma Tourism Ambassadors, just to celebrate our unique location and promote and highlight our culture and heritage. At 2.6, we're seeking approval for a development plan for some work to commission a costed development plan for Gorchin Lakes and Burren National Nature Reserve, estimated to be in the region of £10,000. And then the tourism industry webinar programme. So since the onset of COVID-19, the focus has been very much for the tourism industry on the domestic and Republic of Ireland marketplace. And this is to support the use of digital technologies to attract repeat and new customers. And we will engage practitioners to support the industry towards those offers outlined at 2.7.2. And then the Devonish Island Experience Development Update. So Tourism NI has facilitated a number of meetings with officers from HED and from Waterways Ireland to establish an agreed framework for the future visitor management and experience development for Devonish Island. The framework will provide a roadmap to develop Devonish Island as an iconic visitor experience, linking in with the Tourism NI Embrace a Giant Spirit brand proposition. So it's recommended, Chair, that the Council approves the Multimedia Support Programme as outlined in paragraph 2.1, approves the 50% match funding for the Visitor Experience Project as outlined in paragraph 2.2, subject to receipt of letters of offer, and that we approve commencement of the procurement process at risk for any or all of the projects. We note the update in respect of the Slieve Bay initiative as outlined at para 2.3. We approve submission of an application to DAERA's Rural Tourism Collaborative Experience Programme and approve the 25% match funding if successful. Note the Find or Fermanagh Oma Ambassadors Tourism Campaign. Approve the commissioning of a development plan for Gorchin Lakes and Burn Nature Reserve as outlined in para 2.6. Approve the delivery of a tourism-focused webinar programme as outlined in 2.7, and notes the update on the experience development work for Devonish Island as detailed in para 2.8.
Thank you, Kim. Colin Michael Dove.
Thank you, Chair. Coramaga, Chair. Thank Kim for the extensive report. I'm going to focus on 2.2.2 and Project 3, which is talking about Find or Fermanagh Oma augmented reality photo booths, which will give visitors the opportunity to learn about our council area and have their picture taken with some local characters from past and present. Now, then there's a list of names of people who might be suitable. Now, one obvious omission from the list is, even on the basis of gender, there isn't any female personalities or characters from the past or contemporaneous listed. But this is all subjective. But Chair, understanding orders, I do have a couple of minutes, so I'm going to try and take them. I'm going to list 15 names of people that I think should be on this list, because it's truly reflective of the character of our council area, I believe. Now, this is maybe contentious territory, but I'm going to name my 15, okay? I'm going to start off with Alice Milligan. Alice Milligan, the poet from Mountfield, Oma, Lislap. She had lived variously in 3 different places in her lifetime and was such a major literary figure. To balance that with, although Alice Milligan came from the Methodist tradition, but was a Republican, I think W.F. Marshall, the poet, there's a case to be made there. Rose Kavanagh, another poet who was born in Barra, sometimes is known as the bard or the poet of Knockmoney. Felix Kearney, Joe McGarrity, Dr. Patrick McCartan, Artie McGlynn, Brian Cole, Frankie McBride, Dominic Kirwan. I'm going to move on to the conclusion now, Chair. Willie Anderson, when he stood up to the old Haka, that iconic image. Shirley McKay, Conor Gormley, the famous block in Croke Park. And how anybody could leave out Peter Canavan, I'll never know. One of the great mysteries of the world, that Peter Canavan could be left out of a list like this. And then in the Irish language circles, people like Podgy, Fellamy, Lodger, McCullough, one of the last Gaelic speakers in Mid-Tyrone, not to mention the O'Neills. I do think this list needs to be looked at again, and a wee bit more adventure, a wee bit more boldness, a wee bit more courage in identifying who accurately reflects the character of this area. Thank you, Chair.
Barry, next up, Bert Wilson. Bert, is your hand still up, or do you wish to speak on this one? Hand still up, Bert. Cold O'Coffey.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy enough to. I don't know if Councillor McElduff actually proposed to read the report. Yeah. It is a useful report. I'm happy enough to second it. I want to make a proposal myself, however. It is something that I feel strongly that we should try to do, or at least initiate, and I'm asking for propose that the officers come back with some thoughts on how we could take it forward, which is a programme to promote all the megalithic structures and sites in this council area. There are huge numbers in every village up and down. We've got Mount Drum. We've got some fantastic facilities, amenities, which are not really known about by a lot of people, There's you go across Ireland, other areas, other councils are doing this, and I would love to see, like, for example, a map of megalithic structures of interest. People will come here and have good tourism experiences, go to relatively rural areas, spend some money. Can I just propose that? Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that, Donal. I do believe there are maps available, Donal, with all that information of ancient Cranach sites, etc. So maybe a request for the information could be made outside the committee. I think that information's already been presented to councillors in the past.
Well, if it's Cranach, I'm on about megalithic sites. But
yeah, I do believe all that information has been logged. Again, happy enough to take your proposal, Donal, in light of that. Collier Sean Donnelly, Councillor Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair. Just on that there that Councillor McAduff mentioned, and again, I'd like to thank Kim for a very comprehensive report. There's a lot of stuff in it, you know. And Councillor McAduff has touched on a lot of things there, and so did Donal. Now, one thing, I'm not being critical, one thing, you know, I was out there the other day, and a car pulled up on my tourist and my own locality, and they were looking for they were sightseeing, and I wanted to find out the destination or where these two things were. I was fit to tell them one of them was a megalithic site. Sorry, I can't hardly get my tongue around that, you know. And I engaged with them, and they were from overseas tourists here and in the district, and they were here on sightseeing and they wanted to see these two things. But the thing they said to me was, you know, they give you a map with the directions, but as you approach where the sites are, there's no signage or no signpost. So I'm thinking of that. I would maybe make a proposal that, and the like of that there, they should be very near the sites. There should be signage to the sites. Do you understand what I mean? They had travelled across, they were here tourism from across the water, and I looked around me and there was no sites in there, no signage in their locality for things like that there, maybe 4 or 5 miles away. But I think in the rural countryside, as you approach your destination, there's nothing there. So thank you. I'm going to propose that we write to the relevant sources and get them maybe to put up signs posts. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that proposal, Sean. Have we a seconder for that proposal? Collier McAleer, are you happy enough to second that?
Happy enough to second. Happy enough to second. I'm going to second Councillor O'Coffey's proposal as well. Just with it being such a feature of the Mid-Tyrone area and overlapping into Mid-Ulster around Craigan's, a site that's famed for it. And just if Barry had a great list there, and how could anyone forget Peter Canavan? But I suppose sticking with people within our district area, Potter Joe Hahey would be another person I think would be worthy of being acknowledged within that list too. You, Chair.
Right, thanks for that, Collier. Collier Curry.
I'm not sure are we revisiting this list at a later stage. I think we'd like to see that. I think we all might have some good ideas. I think I'll let Collier McCaffrey, our resident boffin on the 9 Years' War, probably have a proposal around Hugh McGear, you know, there'd be a number of people I think that we would like to maybe explore, you know, as being people that we reflect our district more fully. Just as well, just on the what Collier O'Coffey was proposing there, and I take what you're saying, Cahirley, that there are maps available, but I'm wondering, is there a are those available online, or, you know, would like some more information about that. Obviously in the Air North area, we've so much of that as well, and particularly the one that sticks out, which is very, very unique, of course, the Janus figure. You know, so and there's not a lot of information, I don't think, very easily available on that. So just like to see a little bit more work done on that. Gormugget.
Fulcher Road. If I could just remind you that the McCaffreys are a subsect of the Maguire clan. For your information, Collier.
Probably needs to declare interest there, does it? Okay.
Right. So where are we?
Chair, could I tell you my mother was Maguire?
Say that again, Bert.
Could I tell you my mother was Maguire, and she was?
Sure, there's always one in every family. Thanks for that information, Bert. Now, where are we? We have a proposer and seconder, I believe. And we've had some requests for information for the Neolithic sites.
Okay, so we have
a proposer and seconder for Councillor Donnelly for signage to be erected at such sites or seek out the funding or the relevant application. All agreed? Good job. I think we just took them together. I think everybody's happy enough with each of those. Now, moving on the agenda, 10.8, report on the draft COVID-19 Tourism and Economic Recovery Programme.
Thank you, Chair. So this report is really to seek approval of a draft COVID-19 Tourism and Economic Recovery Programme for the district, focusing on the next 12 to 24 months. And this is in terms of our own internal work across tourism and economic development, which has, and we have outlined a range of strands of this programme: town centre recovery, business support, workforce and skills, tourism, and Brexit planning. We have attached appendices to the report which sets out our proposals for each of those strands, and alongside that we will be looking at marketing and communications activity to support each of the strands. The detail of the report continues to provide detail then in respect of each one of those 5 strands alongside the information in the appendix, Chair. So it's recommended that the Council endorses the Tourism and Economic Recovery Programme and the key areas of work, including town centre recovery, business support, workforce and skills, tourism and Brexit, and also notes that the Council submitted applications to the Bank of Ireland's Begin Together Awards. And just to note that Enniskillen was runner-up in its category for that award and received €5,000 funding.
Thanks for that, Kim. First up, Councillor Barry Michael Duff, Collier Michael Duff, Lanneray.
Ask him about tranche 2 of the funding, when that might open up. Maybe that's included in the report. I think I have that knowledge. When might tranche 2 be opened up? Thank you.
Chair, we haven't just received letters of offer yet in respect of tranche 2. So I need to clarify that with DFC in terms of exactly what their timescale is for providing that funding.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Collier, Councillor Thornton, Howard Thornton, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's just with regard to that, the Recovery Revitalisation Scheme, the Tranche 1. It was a bit disingenuous of the Department of Communities to put in their literature for the fund about awnings and canopies. And then they made an exclusion. Works which would require planning permission are excluded if it's not in place prior to the works commencing. I would hope that perhaps I could propose that we write a letter to the Department of Communities expressing the frustration of local traders here in Enniskillen who would have taken up the offer but then realised they were hitting all these obstacles were exclusions, and the likelihood of planning getting through was just nonsensical. So I would like a propose that letters written to the Department of Communities expressing the frustration of local traders here in Enniskillen to the suggestion and then the exclusion right away, which was totally impractical. Otherwise, I'm quite happy to propose the recommendations, but with that letter, please, Chairman.
Thanks for that, Howard. Next up is Councillor Earl Thompson.
Thank you, Chairman. And sorry for being late onto the meeting, had another meeting there. Just with regard to Councillor Thornton's proposal, I'm happy to second that. And I suppose that goes for especially our 2 main towns, county towns of Omagh and Enniskillen. Just with regard to the recommendations themselves, I'd like to thank Kim for her report, and I'll duly second the recommendations as listed. Chairman, thank you.
Thanks for that, Earl. That's grand. Councillor O'Coffey. Councillor O'Coffey.
Yes, and just I want to commend the staff on bringing forward the proposals under tranche 1, which reflect obviously the improvements, a cycle connection to the town centre, which is very welcome. That's in Enniskillen, of course. Also gateway signage and an improvement to the butter market. I think it's very important that we see these projects coming forward to maximise the uptake and drawdown of these available funds. So I think they're all very worthy projects, and hopefully they will lead to a revitalisation of our county town. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that, Councillor. And Councillor Robert Irvine.
Thanks very much, Chair. Tommy, I would like to abstain from the vote of Councillor Thornton's proposal, as I sit as Chair of the Planning Committee, and it is a direct correlation to matters pertaining to that. So thank you.
Okay, Robert. I don't see any conflict with my own position, as it's a reference to the issuing of the grants and the obstacles in their way, so I'm happy enough to remain where I am. Thanks for that, Robert. You're obviously free to say so. So all agreed with Howard's proposal and Errol's seconding? All agreed?
Chairman, Mary here.
Yes, go ahead, Mary.
Thanks very much, Chair. I'm all agreed, but just in the proposal, it referenced very much Enniskillen Town and Omagh Town, and I'm familiar with people who had the same problem in some of our rural towns and smaller ones. So if the proposal could take in the frustration that was felt by the whole district as opposed to Omagh and Enniskillen exclusively. Thank you. I'd appreciate that, but if that's okay with the proposer. And second.
Chair.
Sorry. Right. Sorry, am I taking it that you're happy enough, Howard, to include Mary's comments?
Correct, Chair. No problem.
And Earl, you're happy enough to second accordingly as well. Thank you very much.
Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on, item 10.9, Community Planning Update Report.
Thank you, Chair. So this report is an update on progress achieved and decisions reached at the 6th of July and 23rd of September meetings of the Community Planning Partnership Board. It's to seek approval also for an updated community plan which focuses on the partnership's priorities in relation to COVID-19 recovery. The report sets out the detail of the priority areas and interventions which have been agreed. And just to note that this will focus on the next 12 to 24 months, and it's intended that there will be, again, a more comprehensive update at that point, looking again at the longer term direction. So it's recommended that the update report is noted and approval is granted for the updated community plan for Omagh 2030 and the priorities and actions identified in response to the COVID-19 crisis.
Thanks for that, Kim. Could I have a proposer to note? Collier Anne-Marie Donnelly.
Proposed to note, Chair. Thank you.
And Councillor John Coyle, happy to second.
Yeah, second, Chair. Just can I ask Kim, I know at that meeting I proposed about, I know that DFC had given money for recovery for Enniskillen and Omagh, but I know that we were sending a letter for, the rural towns and villages, because it was vitally important that they feel, they are being catered for, and in any recovery that they feel be part of. And thank you.
Thanks, John.
Yeah. Okay.
It's noted. Kim's happy enough with that noting of that, John. Okay. Moving on to item 10.10, Annual Performance Report.
Thank you, Chair. So the report is to seek approval of the draft Annual Performance Report for 2019-20. Which is a statutory requirement and is required to be published by the 30th of September annually. A copy of the report has been shared on the Council's website in advance of the statutory publication date, although it's noted that the report is still subject to formal Council approval. The report also gives an update on correspondence received from Department for Communities on the requirements around performance improvement and reporting in light of the impacts of COVID-19. And really just to note that the department is still looking at the options for that at the moment. So the recommendation is that the draft annual performance report is approved and that the correspondence from DFC is noted in relation to future performance improvement and reporting requirements.
Could I have a proposer, members?
Proposed, Corlier Correa.
Thank you, Siobhan. And Corlier O'Coffey?
I'll second.
Councillor Thompson to second. Earl Thompson. My turn, Earl. All agreed? Thank you, members. Moving on, item 10.11, the report on the business case assessment.
Sorry, Chair, just comment to that one. So the report on the business case assessment sets out information on 2 business cases and 1 addendum. And this is for the Town Hall refurbishment works and for Neacairn Castle stabilisation project, which is really some initial works to remove vegetation so that we can scope the need or the extent of the wider stabilisation works. It's recommended that the Council approves the business cases and the addendum.
Have we a proposer? Corlier O'Coffey?
Chair, yeah, thank you. I'm just wondering, can we be supplied with a copy of the economic appraisal that should have been conducted? Because the first piece of that's the Town Hall. There should be an economic appraisal according to our economic appraisal and business case policy. So as it's over 250,000, can we have a copy of that sent out to us? I'm happy to assume it's correct, but I do note in the absence of a business case, we are now seeing an increase in expected budgeted costs of almost £100,000. So that is obviously some concern to ourselves. Secondly, in regard to the Neacairn Castle stabilisation project, obviously it's a matter of some concern to some locals in that area, and it's something I would have heard quite a few times raised as a concern that when we remove the vegetation from that castle, that the castle will collapse. So is it possible that as a result of removing the vegetation and failing then to put in supportive structures, that this castle could indeed collapse and leave the council with no, with the situation we want to avoid? Thank you, Chair.
Well, it's a far cry from turning it into a wedding reception area that I remember hearing in the not too distant past. We are possibly facing, obviously, if the vegetation is removed from any ruinous building, the vegetation has often got through the framework of the building, and it is a danger that it would crumble and fall to the ground. That is a reality, unfortunately, Councillor. That doesn't mean we can keep firing money at it, I would suggest. Councillor Coyle, you wish to make a comment there? John Coyle? Collier Coyle?
Sorry, Chair, my computer, I don't know what happened. I will propose the recommendation.
Well, I do believe Donald proposed it with the provision of it.
I'll second that.
And you'll second that? And Donald is just put up on chest that he's looking for a response to that. Sorry. He obviously not happy with my update.
Chair, if I can just come in there, Councillor O'Coffey is absolutely right. We are actually in the process of undertaking that work, and we are finding that the structure is actually probably worse than what we had anticipated. We are actually bringing over an engineer next week in order to look at the stabilisation of it. What is included in the business case assessment here is stage 1 of the project. Stage 2 would be to undertake those works which are absolutely vital in order to stabilise the building, and stage 3 then will be for the longer term stabilisation of the building. So that work is ongoing. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that, John. Councillor McCloughery, do you wish to add something to this discussion?
Yeah, I was just going to come in and say that I'd noticed that the works had already started, and I welcome that news from John that they're going to have an engineer's report to order to stabilise the building. It is sad that it's been left to this stage. I mean, this work should have been done 20 years ago, but that's beyond this council's remit. Thank you.
Right, John. Emmett and Eamon, Emmett, give your hand up. Is it on this issue? Now we have a proposer and seconder now.
No, it's following on from Councillor O'Coffey's question and indeed John's response to him there, and not being 100% familiar with the locale. is this on the grounds that we have rented out to private enterprise, and do they not have any input into this? Just I would be very concerned that we're paying for continued upkeep of this. And is there a need to remove the vegetation if we are then putting the historical building at risk?
All right. I'll call John in now, but as far as I know, I don't think the guardroom actually overtook the house itself, as I recollect.
No, that's correctly, Chair. Guardroom have the rest of the buildings and the property, but the castle itself is the responsibility and remains the responsibility of Mananoma Council.
And Damon, have you a point to make? Damon, did you wish to add
similar
quickly?
point, Lamont, there I was going to say. Yeah, similar point, Lamont. I was just going to say that I was wondering if we could full liability, but John's answered that.
Yeah, he's already answered him, and it was clear at the time that guardroom would not be taking responsibility for the old building. That's correct. Already that's correct. Thank you, Eamon. All agreed. Sorry.
So just let me finish. Was it part of that not supposed to be a care facility? The castle?
The castle, a care facility?
I thought that was part of the deal. It was going to be converted into a care facility.
Sorry, Eamon, it's news to me now, and unless any other councillor has any information, that John obviously is aware of that, and he's aware of Nacarn, but he's not aware of any talk of a care home. I don't believe I heard that either. Corey, you wish to come in there?
Yeah, just for a bit of clarity, I doubt it was ever any intention for it to be a care facility. I think at the time when the council had bought it, as I understand it, or took ownership of the Nacarn estate, that building had actually been used as a hen house by the previous, and it is just really a shell, and that's why it's in such a fragile condition. I think the council has done a lot of work in stabilising it in the past, but just to give a bit of context there, Chair.
Yeah, I obviously there's councillors coming in speaking about the Nacarn Castle as if it, or the remains of it, as if it was a viable building that could be reinstated. Obviously, it hasn't been, and for many, many years. There's two more councillors have lit up here in the meantime. Just try to cut it as fine as you can. We are running short in time. Councillor Gannon, you wanted to say something?
Yes, Chair, just to provide clarity on that point made by Councillor Keenan. Obviously, the castle was never intended as kind of a care home or a facility like that. But
sorry, Councillor. That's not relevant now at all. Sure, it's already been answered. Okay, right. Well, no, the clarity was already given, Councillor. Thanks for that. Anthony Feely, do you wish to add to that? And if it's just saying the same thing, please refrain.
Very brief, Tommy. I'm just going to a bit of information. We had two informal meetings with Celine about 6 months ago, before COVID, and it's pity some of the councillors didn't go to their meetings, and they would have knew.
Yeah, thanks for that, Anthony. I know where you're coming from. All agreed? Thank you, members. Moving on, 10-12.
Thank you, Chair. So 10-12. 1012 is a miscellaneous report. It provides an update on letters of offer received on economic development sponsorship for the 2021 financial year in respect of the Ulster University's Economic Policy Centre. Discussions regarding Altmore Forest, the opening of the Policing Community Safety Partnership Grant Aid Call, some information on the Peace Plus development process and the consultation exercise undertaken by Peace 4 officers, and also notes an update in terms of the investigation into the application of the appeals process for capital grant aid funding. Letters of offer are as outlined in section 2.1 and 2.2, the Ulster University Economic Policy Centre presentation. So we have had a relationship with Ulster University and have provided sponsorship, annual sponsorship of £10,000. They are supporting us with our response and the insight provided in terms of the economic situation. And as part of the sponsorship arrangement, we will continue to provide that advice and can provide workshops to the business community if required. The Altmore Forest discussion. Just to note that council officers have met with representatives from Kappa Community Group in February prior to the pandemic to discuss their proposals. Community Group is based in the Mid-Ulster District Council area. A portion of the forest lies within the FODC area, and the Appendix 1 to the report does provide some information on a previous audit done by the Legacy Council of Dungannon and South Tyrone. As a first step, we're suggesting that the group should investigate the preparation of a feasibility study to begin to outline the scope of their proposals, and that would need to be led by Mid-Ulster District Council, and officers will liaise with Mid-Ulster District Council to identify funding and support that work. The PCSP call is for a small grants programme for security equipment up to £5,000, opening on the 14th of October and closing on the 5th of November. Peace Plus is really just for information in terms of some information that's been provided. And at 2.7, further to this is in relation to the appeals process and the investigation around the capital grant aid funding. So further to the recommendation of the July RNC meeting, an investigation has been undertaken into the recommendations of the grant aid appeals panel regarding the proposal to refer the application back to the grant aid panel. That investigation has been undertaken by ASM, who are the council's appointed internal auditors. The report does considers a range of governance matters in accordance with the council's established processes. Therefore, it's appropriate that report should be presented to the audit panel in the first instance in line with the audit panel's responsibilities. So arrangements for the next meeting of the audit panel are being confirmed, and that's likely to be in mid-November. So the recommendations are that we note and approve the acceptance of the letters of offer, that we approve sponsorship towards Ulster University's Economic Policy Centre. We note the update in respect of Altmore Forest. We note the opening of the PCSP grant stream. Note the correspondence from SEUPB on the Peace Plus programme, and notes the response by council officers to the Peace Plus draft outline programme, and also notes the update in respect of the investigation report into the application of the capital grant appeals process.
Thanks for that, Kim. First up, Councillor Feely, Collier Feely.
Mistake. Sorry, Tommy, mistake.
Collier Coffey.
Thank you, Chair. I would be happy enough to propose this, but I wanted to raise on the back of it that I'm still waiting to get a copy of the scoping exercise that was conducted by the council or on behalf of the council under the last peace programme of flags and emblems. And I see there's great words in this about future peace activities and so on, but we need to see what is the result of the last peace strategy. Have we had an impact, any form of assessment of how much benefit is accrued? We have flags up and down our town. Both sides are flying flags in September. We've got a lot of issues.
Sorry, Councillor. Thanks for that. Hopefully you'll get your report in due course. Next up, we have Collier Michael Dove.
Just commend Kim on the range and volume of work that she reports on in that miscellaneous report. But just one question that the Sinn Féin group feels very strongly about. Could we have information as to when the council investigation into LDP matters and how our position on fracking was misrepresented in a public consultation document? When will this be completed? And we would want it completed sooner rather than later, as soon as possible. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Barry. And are you happy to second that, Barry? I do believe Donald proposed. Are you happy to second?
Do so, yes, happy to do so.
Thank you. Have you anything for Barry there, Kim?
Sorry, Chair, just that investigation is ongoing, and as I understand, we aim to bring both investigation reports to the next meeting of the audit panel, and then we'll be able to report them into committee following that.
Thanks for that. Now, we have a proposer and seconder. I'm going to put it to the members. All agreed?
A hand up.
Sorry, who?
Alec Baird.
Your hand isn't up with me, Alec. I don't know what you're doing. quickly, Alex, if you want to say a few words.
On Altmore Forest, when I look at that, it would seem that Altmore Forest is almost entirely in Fermanagh District Council area, but the only access egress is via Mid-Ulster. Now, I couldn't read in there if it's just assistance we're giving in that, or is there an intention that we would put any financial contribution into that? I would be concerned if we did, because although it's contiguous to Mid-Ulster, as I say, the only access egress seen from there. I'm just conscious of the ratepayers' money and Fermanagh Council.
Thanks for that, Alex. Councillor Sean Donnelly, did you wish to say something rather quickly?
Access to, yes, I welcome that there about Altmore Forest. And Altmore Forest is in Fermanagh Council, and access to it is from Fermanagh Council. So again,
right. Thank you, Sean.
The recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Everyone agreed? Agreed. Thanking you, members. Moving on, item 11.1. Irish Language Policy Working Group.
Yes, Chair.
That's you, John.
That's me. Chair, this is in a number of points from the Irish Language Policy Working Group. One, to note the actions of the Irish Language Update meeting of the 10th of September. Secondly, to note what was agreed as this necessary safeguarding in place for minors, that they should be permitted to attend Irish language classes, but only when accompanied by a responsible adult, and that adult must be in attendance at all times also. Thirdly, in relation to the Irish Language Policy Working Group, it was agreed at the June 2020 meeting that an Irish Language Policy Working Group would be established, and you have in the appendix the terms of reference for that working group. And fourthly, and apologies, there is a mistake here, and this is probably my ignorance of council procedure. There will be, just in trying to get nominations for the Irish Language Policy Working Group, I have it in the report there that it will be in accordance with the DAHON system. But in relation to that, working groups are not statutory, so it's entirely for the council to make appointments to the working groups. And in FODC, the rule is that appointments to working groups is by agreement, and if agreement can't be reached, then it is by default to DAHON. So, Chair, in relation to the recommendations, that the council notes the actions arising from the Irish Language Update meeting of the 10th of September. Members note the approach being taken in attendance of minors at Irish language classes aimed at adult learners. Thirdly, that members approve the terms of reference for the Irish Language Policy Working Group, which is included in Appendix 2, and members nominate 12 councillors to sit on the Irish Language Policy Working Group by agreement. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that. Sean Donnelly, your hand's still up. Alex Baird, your hand's still up, I believe, in error. And Alex, you have your microphone on. If you could take it out down. Now, Councillor McCaffrey.
Gormila Mogad, Caihirley well, is a talk Hunan and Forum Shaw, Gail August, Gorwilshe, Corher Bon, Fuyeru, Glockshe, Tamal Wayok, Wihistaji, Fuyeru, and Leatashion. Just it's very, very good to see this finally come to fruition after many months' delay. However, we're pleased that this will finally be up and running. So I'm happy to propose that we can establish this Irish Language Working Group. However, I just want to raise one small issue that I've noticed after reading through the report papers, and it's just a small issue. I think that some of the terminology in around the Irish Language Policy Working Group, I think we need to be very careful that we're not shortening or narrowing the breadth of the Irish language group and what we can do in that group, because it's not just going to be focused on policy. We want to try and see how the council can engage with the Irish language community, be more public facing, increase our bilingual messaging and our promotion of the Irish language. Yes. So we're just
Bruama, we're under extreme pressure of time. Could I suggest that the nominating officers from each of the parties make their nominations through to John, and any interested independents or small parties could forward their name for consideration. Is that agreeable to everybody?
Chair,
Sorry, quickly.
Just to say that the Sinn Féin party upholds the principle of D'Hondt. It's a system, a democratic system of proportionality based on political strength. We'll obviously return to this, but Sinn Féin party upholds D'Hondt. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Barry. That conversation can take place at the time of nominations. I actually am going to put that to the members that that's all agreed, because obviously, sorry, Councillor Coffey, that's only 2 dissenting voices, members. Your dissent will be recorded as Donald Coffey and Emmett McAleer dissent. Because of pressure of time, I'm moving on to 11.2, the development of Ulster Scots.
Chair, have we got a seconder just for that, for the proposal? Councillor McCaffrey proposed
Councillor McCaffrey proposed. Have a seconder?
Seconded.
Anne-Marie Fitzgerald. Right, thank you. Moving on. 11.2. And we have, just to remind members, we have about 2 minutes to finish this item.
Yeah, 11.2 is much in the same vein in relation to the development of Ulster Scots, Chair, and I'll just go straight to the recommendations.
Please do.
Recommended the Fermanagh and Omagh Council accepts Ulster Scots scoping study, which is included in Appendix 1, and approves the recommendations within that study. Approves the establishment of a working group for the review of the Ulster Scots policy, approves the terms of reference for the Ulster Scots policy, and nominates 12 councillors to sit on the Ulster Scots policy working group, and approves the public consultation on the Ulster Scots policy. And Chair, I would advise that we take the same approach, maybe if possible, as the Irish language working group.
Is that agreeable to all members?
No.
Record your dissent, Donald. Anyone else?
Likewise.
Dissenting? McAleer and O'Coffey dissent. Everyone else in agreement?
No. Councillor Keenan.
Councillor Keenan in disagreement. Everyone else in agreement?
Yeah, I'll propose the recommendations.
Thank you, Victor. And a seconder, please.
I'll second
it. Paul Robinson. Thank you, gentlemen.
No. It's what time is it? Well, we're run out of time.
Right, I was just checking, was there another urgent item that we may have been managing the time? The time has gone, members, 2 minutes past the hour. I think that's when we started.
Just on a point of order, can we carry on if you think there's a reasonable expectation that we can complete the business by 10:30?
That is the consideration. I will check again with the officer here. I would doubt it very much if we would get through even what we have. I did just bear with me a wee second to see is there any one more or some further consideration on that. Bear with me, Barry, sorry. And members, please bear with me again. Well, but members, unless everybody is going to say yes to every item that I'm going to proceed with, and we have no guarantee of that, I'm afraid, Barry.
Well, Chair, can I just say very briefly that we would like certainty of a date to complete this business within the month of October. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that proposal. Have you a seconder for that proposal?
I'll second it, and thanks,
Anthony Feely seconded that we get a definite date. And do you require the date now, just before I close the meeting?
Well, I think to be fair to the officers, even in the next day or two, but definite certainty for everyone. Thank you, Chair.
Right, thanks for that proposal. And on that note, Ekawai Akardja, good night, and that is the meeting over for tonight. Slán go fáil.
Thank you, Chair.
Falchero.